Всем привет, с вами Iron Master и второй полуфинал Европейской лиги LCS. Сегодня встречаются команды G2 и Fnatic. G2 закончили регулярный сезон на первом месте, у них буквально пару поражений за весь сезон. Ну а Fnatic традиционно сильны, хоть у них и в этом сезоне довольно заметно поменялась команда. Осталось из прошлого состава 2 человека, это Фебивен и Реклс. Даже такой столб фнатиков, как Yellow Star, ушел и сейчас играет в североамериканской лиге. Кстати, он тоже сегодня будет играть после этого матча. TSM встречается с командой Immortals. Чрезвычайно интересный матч. Ну а сейчас Европа и первый матч. Посмотрим, чего смогут представить команды. Перкс вообще сейчас считается одним из лучших мидеров Европы. Поэтому посмотрим, такой веселый чувак. Ну и Emperor очень классный АДК, тем более ему тут еще дали Калисту. Поэтому посмотрим, что он на ней сможет показать. Хотя традиционно на Калисте очень хорошую игру команды показывают. Но опять-таки у команды Фнатиков довольно много урона мгновенного. То есть все возможности у них кого-нибудь очень быстро убить. С другой стороны проблема будет, потому что у команды G2 целых 3 керри, необычные 2. Поэтому одного-то, конечно, можно убить, но вот
Vitality didn't really show up in playoffs here. I want to see if we're going to get Hurricane first from Emperor. I think if you want to keep Kalista, try and put pressure on the casting lane, you keep Kalista, and of course the two supports, or the support and the jungler here staying around him, and you try pushing that castle in and apply pressure on that lane. Hurricane first is a fine item for the extra wave push, but he hasn't gone back.
Частенько мы, кстати, видим Эко на топе. В последнее время он чрезвычайно актуален становится. И сейчас его собирают полностью в танка. Ну, вчера, кстати, мы видели в исполнении Солза не фулл танка, то есть он батутный ятаган закончил. И это вполне себе оправдалось. Но то, что показывал Хуни не так давно на АП Эко, такого мы уже, к сожалению, не видим. Потому что все-таки АП Эко смотрится более эффектно и требует более прямых рук. Ну, а мои предпочтения, мне сложно сказать, честно. Но вообще я хочу, чтобы команды Fnatic и Origin встретились. И Ориджины уже в финале. Поэтому, пожалуй, я буду болеть все-таки за Фнатиков. Уже более-менее традиционно. Потому что мне нравится, как начал играть Фебивен. То есть он стал такой классной, мощной силой, которая тащит. Если раньше он терялся немного в тени своих сопартийцев, то теперь это прямо командообразующий элемент. Так. Ну, вообще команды, кстати, стандартно стоят по лайнам. Снесли они по одной вышке. И на этом как-то все ограничилось. Обычно сразу же смены, но здесь топеры стоят на своих классических линиях. И сейчас смена произошло. Мидер и ботлейн поменялись местами. Ну, то есть вообще команды сейчас стараются как можно быстрее снести внешние вышки, чтобы получить больше золота на свое развитие и исходя из этого уже плясать. Плюс больше возможностей для телепорта открывается, поэтому постоянные смены лайнов это сейчас стандартно. Перкс прям чувствует, что где-то рядом ходят неприятели. Ну и у G2 уже один дракон. Один дракон, две вышки, и по голде они идут наравне полностью вообще. Ну, то есть Фнатики как только вторую вышку возьмут, то выйдут вперед. Где-то около 1000 будет у них преимущество.
But he also knows they can take top tower already, so he goes back mid, forces Fnatic off, and they just play this little game where they know they have the stronger early game. So as long as they're the ones being proactive, putting pressure on these towers, Fnatic has to respect that. And they can't overextend. Time and flash, obviously. Just a good little move again by G2, and a lot more macro focus compared to just fighting.
This is the question we had for G2 coming into these playoffs. We haven't seen them play for 3 weeks, and we had to ask ourselves, was G2 still going to try and overextend and overfight and end up outplaying themselves? Remember, the last time this team lost, they were 5k up against Fnatic, and then Kog'Maw happened.
Yeah, then Kog'Maw happened. They stepped in the back of the Baron pit and ended up suiciding in a 1 game. Luckily, that is gone. Yeah, that was. We're not gonna see that anymore. Yeah. I'm glad that one's not there. But now we've got Echo, who's sort of not quite the same impact, but certainly
He's a different kind of problem.
Pretty strong as well. I mean, the key thing with this tank Echo is that Echo is a champion that was meant to have specific sets of weaknesses, that he's either meant to dart around the fight and kind of jump in, jump back out because you can't take prolonged amounts of damage, and then ultimate yourself back to get the health back for more damage. Now you just sit in the fight and stay in the fight, stun 3 people twice over, ult back to get your health back, and still kill people with base damages from the passive. Yeah, I mean, he's
Так, Калиста. Ну, немного необычно, конечно, начинает через ботер.
Tanks don't feel very confident either.
Well, that's why you have a trunk. Yeah. Then when you stack your armor, he takes your armor, and then he starts beating you with the club.
That's pretty much Trundle. That is how you troll. So G2 still staying bang on even with the 1 tower advantage. There really isn't any opening for Fnatic to respond to this one. Where do they go from here?
Well, keep in mind, Fnatic are not interested really in saying anything at this point. They just want to let G2 play this game. As long as G2 plays very slow, Fnatic is scaling up. You need 2 icons on the caster. The problem is this top lane matchup.
Так, и ФБ готовится на Гамсу, немного не дострелили и все-таки умрет. Но нет, Кигис посчитал, что уже убил. И успеет. Крипы коварные запинали. И ФБ уходит все-таки G2. Ну, это небольшая такая ошибка в исполнении Трандла, потому что, ну, дать возможность сопернику спастись, ну, тут чисто случайно. То есть необходимо, не ожидал, точнее, Эко, что... О, ну и все, умрет сейчас. О, ну нет, еще чуть-чуть выжил и успела команда подойти. Перкс вообще каким-то чудом просто спасается. Ну это... это нечто, конечно. То есть необходимо было кидать ему все-таки щит вперед, потому что... Так, и смотрим, как дожил. И промазал кушкой. Ну как? Спирит, ну что такое? Ты же кореец. Так, ну и уже почти настаканный God of Ages у Касадина, то есть как раз он к 20-й минуте практически будет закончен. Так, по фарму все более-менее равны. У G2 небольшое преимущество по лайнам, но вот довольно сильно выбивается все-таки Калиста, потому что нет у нее таких возможностей для запушивания, как у Сивир. Тем более у Сивир флэт АД, ей все-таки полегче. Ну и ждем телепортов, потому что как-то команды пока не особо активно ими пользуются. Ну и очень грамотно, то есть смотрите, G2 постоянно забирает Геральда. И это такая небольшая победа, потому что дает возможность для осады и, естественно, усиление небольшое. Да, тяжело, тяжело чрезвычайно Калисте без Рунаана. Даже с Рунаном она намного, конечно, дольше будет запушивать Сивир. Поэтому и разница в крипах просто гигантская. Для АДК это очень-очень критично. Ну вот, наконец-то собрала Рунаан против толстых танков, у которых очень много хп. Это будет очень актуально. Ну и плюс урон, конечно же, пойдет по нескольким членам, поэтому больше нанесет благодаря Рунаану. Так, ну и тут замес между Гамсу и Кикисом. Ну, Кикису проще, потому что у него есть отхил. Благодаря своей пассивке. Поэтому ему ничего не страшно. Плюс У него уже почти 2 кора собрано. Поэтому он себя вполне себе уверенно чувствует, в случае чего у него есть ульта. И ну, эко ему на данном этапе особо не соперник, конечно. Фнатики как-то прижались к вышкам, ждут, когда они накопят больше итемов, больше силы, потому что, ну, там Калиста, конечно, вообще скейлится практически безгранично. Чем дальше, тем она больше и больше урона может наносить. Ну, главное, конечно же, условие, что соперников кто-то поддержит. Но для этого есть, конечно же, Лиссандра, есть Трандл со своей глыбой, есть Трэш, который тоже очень много контроля. Но опять-таки так быстро убить не получится, потому что у Фнатиков тоже очень хорошая защита. В случае чего там и Лисин может выпнуть, и очень мобильный Касадин, есть ульта у Сивир, есть, конечно же, Алистер, есть танк Эко. Поэтому довольно проблематично будет добежать до Сивир, конечно же. Ну а Касадин сам до кого хочешь, конечно, добежит. Поэтому все, конечно же, будет во многом упираться в ошибки Фнатиков. Если будут ошибки, тогда будут возможности. Но вот так, чтобы идеально влететь в столь мобильных Фнатиков, но это надо очень постараться. По крайней мере, в обычной ситуации я не вижу таких возможностей. Так, и минус ульта у Сивир. Это все-таки полегче. Так, и спасает Калиста. Минус еще один ульт. Но теперь уже у G2 и... 1 на 1, но при этом Трандл еще даже не заюзал ульту. То есть Трандл сейчас это вообще что-то чудовищное, и ему просто никто ничего сделать не может. Хотя все-таки Реклс ему неплохо ударит, потому что армора пока у Трандла не замечено. Так, ну а Касадин, как всегда, занимается тем, чем занимается всегда Касадин. То есть он сплит пушит. Немного Реклс подтроллил, конечно же. Ну и минус вышка на миду. Это большое преимущество того, что в лесу еще один керри, тем более АДшный, тем более АДК. Поэтому вышки падают очень быстро. И Эмперор выживает и успевает всыпать кучу урона. Но тут уже умрет. Так, забирает все-таки один килл Фабиван. Благо, следующий шаг у него все-таки откатился. И пока единственный килл у Фнатиков остается на счету Касадина. Смотрите, он уже третьим итемом сразу же берет Void Staff. И вот это вот вообще, конечно же, шикарнейшим образом сыграно. Ну и шикарнейшим образом, конечно же, сыграл Перкс. Просто продержал и нанес кучу урона.
very good reaction time here from Emperor.
And the issue there was Cly, after having to burn his ultimate, burn his flash earlier, took too much damage with Reckless under their own turret, so they couldn't supplement the damage. If Fnatic had 4 people coming in on that, that's where the Echo freedom and the Kassadin freedom in these fights comes from, is when there are too many threats to just lock down one person in a fight. That time, you know, G2 turned their attention to Gamsu, take him out. The fight becomes infinitely more.
Конечно, благодаря QSS просто Emperor шикарнейшим образом выжил, прямо в воздухе успел юзнуть QSS, поэтому далеко не улетел, успел обратно флешнуться в свою команду и из-за этого выжил и нанес, конечно же, тонну урона просто. Потому что армора не так много у Лисина. А против количества хп большое Боттерк очень-очень хорошо помогает. Ну и не забываем про копья, потому что Калиста успела нормально так навтыкать их.
Win a fight against a team that has both of them available when both teams weren't really in the situation to fight, and it was a good just initiation counter initiation that came from G2.
Also just the TPs for Fnatic, they were so far away from the fight itself, they didn't really have a ward perfectly set up.
Ну как-то складывается такое ощущение, что не в этом сплите.
Perks is now sitting ready in the bush. G2 really wants to fight him.
Кикис особо не переживает, то, что на него попала пушка. Ну и попробовали втихаря забрать на Шора. Ну, команда Фнатиков не настолько наивна, чтобы таким наглым и дерзким способом отдавать на Шора. Because if they have wards off to the side and can TP in on me, it doesn't matter that I'm Kassadin, I have no flash, and Riftwalk isn't enough to get me out of this situation if I'm up against the likes of the Lissandra and a Drop who are going to kill me pretty quick.
I know you were making a kind of a strange face about the Kassadin build path official.
I was just getting afraid because he now had a voice stop already.
Yeah. Oh, I misinterpret it as it's disgusting amount.
It's the same face anyway.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
I just can't tell, man. I've known him for a while now, and it still doesn't make any sense.
I only have one face, Pyro. Face of disappointment.
Ow. Ooh, that was like a shot in all directions. Well, hopefully this game lives a little bit more up to your high standards.
Ждут все, когда откатятся, видимо, телепорты. Ну, точнее, Фнатики. Потому что у Касадина еще на КД телепорт, поэтому что-то пытаться производить какие-то движения не будут. Но, несмотря на то, что на 2 килла больше, у G2 разница в золоте всего 1000. Поэтому ничего страшного не произошло, за счет фарма они пока вполне себе выезжают.
By forcing them to calm down and stop you when you are taking these dragons. So obviously 4th dragon is going to be a big objective now for G2. Fnatic have teleports ready. Level 16 Kassadin has been hit, so we are in the zone. Fedran, he's ready.
Oh yeah, he is so ready to start dealing damage. And Gamsu is so ready to get rid of everything.
Ну, Фэбивен я бы не сказал, что так уж прямо таки готов к драке, потому что все-таки лича ему не хватает. И успевают, смотрим. Сразу же мгновенно просто активирует ульту Алистер, и ничего он не смог с этим сделать. Умрет, конечно, гибрид, но не хватило. Все-таки выдохнул тренер G2. Но это 40 секунд, это ужас. похоже на то, что все-таки игру закончат сейчас. Ну, ничего Спирит не может сделать, может только умереть, в принципе. Что он, собственно, и делает, потому что 20 секунд это слишком много. Не успевает. Пытается сделать что-нибудь Клайн, но не хватает. Не хватает урона, и все, это первая игра. Придерживаются они все-таки своего уровня высокого и заканчивают очень быстро игру. То есть у них все игры в пределах 32 минут почти заканчиваются. Ну и выдержали они свой темп буквально одним тимфайтом. Все закончилось. Поэтому сейчас посмотрим, как они поработают над своими ошибками. И ну потому что произошло то, о чем я говорил, что целых 3 керри это гигантское количество урона, которое они могут влить, и куча контроля. То есть этого не хватало в команде Фнатиков, потому что ну всего 2 керри, тем более Касадину все-таки лич необходим для того, чтобы увеличить свой урон довольно заметно. Потому что ну, он не может без лича выдать такой бёрстовый урон, после которого там падает вражеский керри. Он может, в принципе, изматывать, то есть ему несколько заходов, и да, он умрет. Но кто ж ему даст на профессиональной арене несколько заходов спокойно, тем более, когда лайн-фаза давно прошла. Поэтому ну, это очень очень какая-то странная такая своеобразная игра получилась, потому что всего это даже ошибкой не назовешь, просто один тимфайт и все.
Yes, I think, as I said, Trip is the main player, and his 3 most comfort picks are right now Nidalee, Kindred, and Graves. 2 are banned, so it's really obvious what they're gonna first pick Graves.
I think that like this game that Fnatic has in their composition, like they really relied on lanes and like that, which is something you can do, but it's not necessarily something you want because there are too many scaling elements, so they couldn't really control waves on the side. So it is felt that G2 will have the pressure no matter what throughout the early 30 minutes until Cassin basically hits 16. And if you then opt for a bad fight before the Cassin is actually hitting his power spike, it's pretty grim.
Yeah, because, sorry, yeah, what we heard here on the desk when we all were talking about was, well, it doesn't actually
Ну,
matter.
собственно, то же самое и сказали, что
Things will be over, but they pulled
I mean, late game Kassadin will do some dirty things. The way to get there, though, step 1 for Fnatic is to get the lane swap, and that's going to be our first replay where we just were surprised by what Fnatic did, because it was smart from G2. They, first of all, they deep invaded to get some deep vision on the left side of the map. That's where you see the wards. And then, yeah, Vander, is this a strategy, is this cheese, or is this completely to be expected here from Fnatic?
Both sides have wards in the enemy jungle, and then dual lane has to just sit mid basically and see where the enemy Kalista Thresh go, and they just played it better, more patient here.
Yeah, before this maybe, which lane do you want?
I mean, you want Sivir and Alistar to swap the opposite.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a phase in the lane swap that you felt particularly strong about, Vander. Guide us through what you think of it.
So right now Sivir was much ahead of lane swap than Kalista, and that's why Echo could sit Kalista Thresh on the ward coming to top lane, so he was pushing out to trim the wave, so their push on the tower will be slower. But here we see they actually didn't want to push for the tower, they just wanted to freeze for Trundle, which is recalling and coming top now, but unfortunately Kalista pushed the wave here and basically ruined the plan for G2.
So the concept is that the G2 bot lane kind of holds the wave and then hands it off to the
Yes,
top laner.
and then there's like matching lanes where Thresh and Kalista is much stronger than Sivir Alistar, so they would be much ahead from this and nullify the power of Sivir Echo lane swaps, but unfortunately.
I think it really depends. I think that G2 like kind of pushing out and having like kind of a pace in the game is is good, at least like to a certain extent. I think freezing for turn would have been an option, but if you freeze with Trundle, you also risk actually to be dove 4v3 if the jungle comes bottom and you have the top laner already voting towards bottom or TPing in. So I think like it's a double-edged sword. If you can freeze for a Trundle, but if you do that, you risk being dove bottom, especially with the dive champions that Fnatic had.
Yeah, it was still pretty even after the lane swap, and I remember we're gonna pull the next replay up, because right before that you said, Kalista is not really useful here, plus she just bought QSS, and then this happens, Crepo.
QSS was behind. I asked Vander, tell me, why the hell does this guy have a QSS? And Vander told me, well, Crepo, you can QSS flash, Lee Sin kick, and Alpha Q was like, oh yeah, you're right, that makes some sense. And then this happened. Emperor here completely wins that fight.
I predicted what's gonna happen. I mean, it's a bit optional. It can happen. It doesn't happen that often that Lee Sin is in the good position to kick you, but here probably if he didn't have QSS, the teamfight would go for G2, but they pull it out 2-for-1.
Amazing. We were watching Spirit on this Lee Sin, and you were saying a couple times, oof, that Q, he's tilted now, but this probably makes for so more, knowing that the tempo is completely booming.
Yeah, basically, if you play Lee Sin and you have one misplay coming in, or like one play that doesn't go your way, you're already setting yourself up for tilt, and I think that like he did the perfect thing there. He probably didn't think out the QSS interaction, which I probably wouldn't have thought about either, but now I know.
Even then, you still go for that play,
Yeah,
right?
you-
Because he was this close from dying. It was
the
literally
play was
10% into lifesteal, and I think that was also the precursor for our last team fight. I'm not sure if this is a fight that put the teleports in cooldown. Regardless, there was a teleport mismatch. G2 started taking control of the map, and Fnatic felt pressure to challenge this fourth dragon, and they went for a team fight.
I think Kassadin is top now, so I think Clay got a bit caught here, and he went in. It's good, really good combo for man, but Kassadin is not here yet. If Alistar would go in now, then Fnatic would probably win, but I just think Alistar put his trigger a bit too fast here.
And do you think that's Fnatic losing control of the overview of the game, maybe getting surprised by a rotation bot here, or like what do you think happened there?
Basically, they were pressured by 4th Drake, and they wanted some vision and some control in this area, but they misplayed, just went too fast, and were not cautious enough.
Do you guys think we'll see a lot more emphasis on dragons overall? Because this split so far, Europe didn't really care about dragons, but games are going quite long, especially keeping yesterday's series in mind. Do you think 5 dragons is a viable strategy? Pick a little bit more early game oriented composition that does get outscaled, but then can get the 5th dragon to make up for it.
I think it's really risky to do that. I think like relying on the dragon to basically give you the 5th stack at some point to make up for less late game sailing is risky. So I don't think it's something that people will necessarily opt into. It's something that's going to be optional, and it's not going to be like people are going to play full early game compositions. But I think that paying more attention to the Drake per se is something that people will do, and probably should have done that yesterday. But yeah, I think G2 pressuring with 4th Drake is pretty good, but I also think that Fnatic didn't need to fight there.
Yeah.
So opting for that fight is something that they decided for, and they were not really pressured because the 5th stack was not coming up yet. So it's just up to them to basically decide to make that mistake happen.
Yeah, we'll see what happens and how the priority goes up or down. But we're going to take a quick break as Fnatic looks to even things up in Game 2. But first, let's hear from G2's Hybrid.
Since the first day we met, like we have really good synergy. The first scrim we did, like everything went perfect. Like it felt so perfect, you know. So yeah, but I think their weakness is their jungle support. I don't think it is that good. So me and Trick will just like go together, control the whole map, and control the game from there.
Довольно любопытно. G2 говорят, что у них лесник и саппорт самые слабые звенья, и, соответственно, на них необходимо давить.
everybody. After taking game number 1, G2 Esports are looking to keep their momentum going in number 2 against Fnatic. And boys, that was just such a nice build-up. The two boxers running around the ring, trying to find each other's weak points. That G2 just throws a sucker punch. Loved it.
Yeah, just a sucker punch as you saw Pyra's action going in there. Is that your sucker punch, I guess? Well,
yeah, it's just exactly like that. I've been working on it for months. Thank you for
kind of
complimenting
weird.
me.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
That's why you don't expect it.
It was about as weird as Fnatic taking that last fight when you look at it, that situation. I mean, Fnatic looked like they were like, oh, we got level 16 Kassadin.
We're ready, boys.
We're ready.
At the checklist, they're like, yep, 16 right there. Let's pick a team fight. Oh, we got caught out completely. Obviously, Clyde, because he got caught out, had to jump in very early. Kassadin wasn't even there, hadn't even started teleporting. And that is the risk, of course, when you run these scaling comps, that you can lose one team fight in the late game, and that will cost you the entire game sometimes.
And now we're already into game number 2. Now remember, Fnatic will be blue side the rest of this series, and they kick it off with a Bard ban.
Yeah, just to explain it, G2 at side selection, because they were the highest seed in game 1, 3, and 5, and they picked blue side for game 1, and then picked purple side for the last 2 games. Fnatic picked blue side in both their games 2 and 4, and that's why Fnatic will now stay on the blue side for the remaining of tonight.
And that's why there's a Lissandra ban from G2.
Yes.
Because G2 are like, well, we're going to take away one blind pick of, blue side. They may even take a second, depends on what they want to hit here. Lissandra is probably the most prominent pick in the mid lane for blind picking, so take that away. The other 2 bans coming out, Braum and Sivir. Now, we saw Sivir for Reckless in the last game do very well at controlling mid lane, and Braum they're taking away from Hybrid.
Yeah, it looks like Fnatic wants to first pick an Alistar, but by having these 2 early support bans, you kind of tell G2 that is an option for you, and that means they can opt to maybe remove one of the last ban they were supposed to, let's take an Echo as an example, saying actually we don't have to ban it because now we put them up to the test here. Do you want the Echo? Do you want the Alistar? Just as 2 examples here, so some new bans coming.
This is a really interesting ban. Lulu is statistically Perkz' weakest performing champion, and they've banned it away. Do not want to allow G2 to have that.
Interesting strategy. Now, the Nidalee was left open with the Kindred band away, and instantly Fnatic snapped that one out.
Сейчас отмечается такая вещь, что довольно неожиданные баны, что банят Лулу, потому что Перкс это... У Перкса это самый слабый персонаж. Ну и, естественно, убирает Лиссандру. Потому что первый пик отдается Фнатикам, и довольно страшно сейчас отдавать.
The thing is, you look at this first pick from Fnatic, Nidalee has an exceptionally strong early game, and the way that she sets the game up for the rest of her team. The problem is it doesn't have the same impact that a Kindred has in a team fight. The same with the Graves. Graves has a little bit more reliable damage that comes out. Nidalee is still fairly strong.
Of course, yeah, Nidalee is still fantastic, very snowball focused. Yeah. Not the greatest team fighter compared to a Graves. Interesting that Hybrid still hasn't picked up the Alistar. Still doesn't value it very highly. So Fnatic can get away with banning his 2 main supports. Still get an Alistar for Clyde. And G2 takes a very early support pick, even though it's not even going to be that contested in my opinion. I value Alistar much higher than Thresh in the current meta.
But there's another option here. They could look to just pick the Trundle instead of the Thresh and flex it.
Yes,
you know you've got mid lane counter pick at the minimum, so you have another rotation to lock top and support. You know that likely it's going to be a tank in the top lane, depending on what Fnatic want to run. Ooh, we have gone back to his bread and butter.
Z на миду. Довольно неожиданно.
Febiven made his name as a Z player. It was Zed and Riven all the way back in Season 3. That Febiven was like, these are my champions in Challenger. I'm going to play these, I'm going to crush everybody out.
Right, and especially his mid lane pick is important because Fnatic opted into blue side in their 2 games where they could select the side. So we had to see what was the blind pick options because again we look so much at this mid lane matchup. We know junglers are going to pick very early, so we're looking at a last pick mid laner in almost any game or every game where G2 is on purple side, and you now give obviously the chance for counter pick.
Yeah, you give him not only the chance for counter pick, but Lissandra was banned. That's the best pretty much counter pick against Zed. It nullifies what he wants to do. There's also, no ability now for G2 to go Azir because Zed is a good matchup into it as well. There are a few mid lane picks for Perkz to look for now. We have to see where he dips in his champion pool.
Yeah, the last pick coming up for him there. Reckless inside, grabbing the grabbing the Ezreal, and the Echo goes over in favor of Gamsu. And
I think
what
you
do
could
boys
go
make of that
Rise.
one?
I think you could go Rise here. If it's something they play. Obviously been played a lot in the LCK. And it still hasn't really made that big of an impact in Europe. It was banned against Unicorns of Love.
Saw it in NA last night.
But we might also just see again even more focus on the double globals. TF has always been one of these weird picks that doesn't really win lane against anything, but you can run defensive summoners and still have a global, so you can try and survive that all in coming from assassins.
Oh,
there it is.
There
Asking
we
it.
go. All right, first Rise we get to see in EU, this side of the
Так, и Райс. Дают Райза. Ну, вообще Райс очень хорошо стоит против Зеда, плюс у него есть возможность собирать себе перчатку. То есть он за счет маны себе увеличить силу.
So powerful still in the late game. Yes, your passive only stacks up to 5, but you're gonna use 5 spells with your passive and then it's gone. So it's a lot more about playing around that. And then again, having that extra mobility, you will build Rod of Ages, you will go tier. Strength of the Ages, we have seen over in Korea for even more stacking HP as an option. No teleport so far selected because it's into a Z.
Yes, also it will change at the end of Champion Select. There is a slight bug in Spectator that it changes right at the last second. So unfortunately, we'll keep you updated on that as we go in. I know a lot of people get baited by that. We didn't talk too much about some of the other picks that got locked in. Fnatic looking to have Reckless on a scaling champion at Ezreal. We've seen it time and time again from them. That's supplemented now with the earlier game damage that Zed is going to provide in this situation.
Ну и смотрим, опять 3 керри на стороне G2 и, ну, в принципе, 3 керри сейчас есть и у Фнатиков, потому что они дали, естественно, будет идти в урон.
I'm excited to see this Rise v Zed, boys. How about you guys?
Oh yes, Febiven Zed is something that we love to talk about but very rarely see. Haven't seen it yet this split, so we get to finally see how it goes.
And Perks, you know, definitely the heir apparent for this mid lane top tier player, and he's been very outspoken about his opinions on the subject. Febiven, of course, being that title holder last year, maybe not without a doubt. You mid laners all over the place.
I think it's safe to say in the end, February
yeah.
He stole the crown. And obviously at
Так,
IEM,
ну
we did see him
и
pick out the Z, but in the LCS, as you said,
ждем,
stress, he hasn't
смотрим
played it on
варды.
IEM. The big tournament, you know, when it really matters, the Z
Варды
comes out for February. He's all
в защиту стоят, то есть все подходы заваржены у команд, никто инвейдить не собирается.
Talk about the comps, because we don't even see an assassin like Zed very often, but he still fits into the 1-3-1 setup. Of course he goes to a side lane, but it's different compared to when you run double teleport. When you run double teleport, you want to keep your 3 members around the mid lane, the AD carry support jungler as much as possible, and then use these teleports to kind of push in side lanes, then either up into a dive or TP away and force a fight in numbers advantage. With the Zed, you want to play around the Zed lane. Yeah. When he goes to the side lane, he gets the kill pressure. That means he will be the first man to always get to the waves and push them in. You have to respect him. You have to sit pretty far back. And then suddenly jungle, support, they move up to the same lane. You either dive that lane and get a kill with the Z, or the Z moves into the shadows. He hides in there. You never know if he's diving mid lane, if he's going back to the Baron or Dragon.
И Кигис вообще не беспокоится за урон, очень хороший такой размен произошел, в принципе, в его сторону, и от 3-го удара он увернулся. То есть каждый раз, когда он будет, в принципе, уворачиваться от 3-го удара, это преимущество. Ну и из Кикиса уже выбили флэш.
Emperor and Hybrid are looking for that 2v2 at all times. Fnatic were the team looking for a lane swap. When you have this Thresh, you need to get these 2v2s, you need to win them.
Spirit, a bit low here, instantly flashing, and Spirit's in the back off knowing he did his job. It's something I wanted to keep an eye on for sure. How much does this jungle matchup come into effect to deal with these mid laners? So far, Trick hasn't shown face in that mid this year with a quick one.
No, I mean, Trick and Perks generally have kind of got this agreement where Trick's like, well, I'm not really going to camp you, but just make sure you don't die. And
I'll
Perks
recall in
tends to be
the
fine.
bush.
Exactly, it's like, they're around, I'll just sit here, but it's okay.
Провоцирует
But I don't
Перкс,
actually
конечно.
want to appear in your lane. I want to focus so
Зеда,
much
но
on how to control my jungle,
в принципе Зеду сейчас единственная его задача зафармить как можно больше и постараться не умереть.
is the fact that we're in, the upside down Australia lanes. The Lucian and the Thresh are going to be able to constantly have pressure on the Ezreal and the Alistair. You're not going to kill them, but you're always going to be able to push them back towards their tower. So that makes Nidalee invading in the top side that little bit more difficult.
It's already reflected a little bit in that farm. Let's go back to the bottom side where they just keep batting each other. Gamsu this time takes a little bit more than he gives. Nick is dodging out the time winder. Another shot from the hammer.
Неплохо
Still
идет.
continuing to trade back and forth. Gamsu does have that summoner spell advantage. Two of them, in fact, he got the teleport.
Could be a classic early trading between tanks. Not a whole lot of action. I mean, okay, there's action, they're fighting, but it's not going as
И
fast.
вначале
You know,
все-таки
it's
тяжеловато
I mean,
будет
last game to Fish, though, I know you got your hopes up there.
с определенного
This time it's gonna be a
момента
little different, I think.
Райзу,
Well, yeah,
потому
this
что
kind of lanes we obviously will have a bit
он будет испытывать недостаток маны, а вот Зед сможет нормально харить. Тем более он взял длинный меч, то есть он сразу же может собирать себе какой-то полезный итем, а не остановиться на Даране. Даран, конечно, пользу Дарана сложно переоценить, недооценить. Ну и смотрим. Но нет, Клей все-таки выживет. Там Трик, конечно, рядом трется.
Very even in this one is of course an early game and we have the standard lane, so really don't expect much to change. But G2, as they were hyper aggressive coming into the series, we have seen a different side of them today. Does it continue?
Well, I feel like it's always in their blood to be somewhat aggressive. I don't think G2 are ever going to let that fire die out. They're always like, well, we can pick a team fight. We can pick a comp that can team fight. Let's just pick.
It's nice to have the option.
Yeah, it's always nice to have the option, and certainly Trick, as we spoke about, him supplementing damage is kind of along that same route. It likes to, provide a lot when it comes to taking kills. Isn't so great at, well, I'll set him up and you knock him down.
And obviously also for Fnatic now when they play with Zed, scaling is never really in Zed's advantage because items like QSS will mess him up later on in the game. Hourglass, obviously. Trick is finding Spirit, or maybe Spirit is finding Trick.
Somebody's finding somebody. Spirit's trying to find a ward, but he's not seeing one right now. Fnatic realizing Trick is going to have Perks back.
И сейчас выдаст он ему 2 раза. И благодаря, не знаю, хилке или...
We get to see this focus from Trick around mid lane, and again it's because if G2 can take over mid lane, it just opens up for diving that top lane.
Ну это, конечно, что-то с чем-то. Просто зашкаливающий какой-то урон у Райза. Надо будет посмотреть, какие у него там руны. И Гамсу сейчас очень хороший урон, и это будет килл. Как-то не очень прям матч начался для Кикиса, и, соответственно, так он как-то и продолжился. Не очень.
And Gamsu manages to really stamp himself against Kikis.
Just to very quickly go back to that mid lane, the potion saved Fibman's life. He was down to 7 HP, and he popped the potion just a few seconds before. So remember that at home, when you are fighting, just flick that potion, it can save your life.
Never save.
And I guess because of it, Kick is tilted completely. He died in a 1v1, and we are now completely making up from stuff.
yeah,
And now
that works.
the game is snowballing out of control.
Yeah, no, this is going nuts already for Fnatic. Now, 500 gold down, of course, because G2 did grab that tower. Let's take a look at what happened again in this bottom side. It was a lot of run around, but then Gamsu got the better.
Gamsu got the better. Again, parallel convergence is such a
Ну вот зря, конечно же.
And the clone of Echo managed to just stand on the same spot for a super long time. The ult damage comes out.
Поппи толкнула прямо.
Whoa, the big knockup and an instant exhaust, but Reckless already took a whole chunk of damage, and now Clyde is getting answered back. So Kickish was trying to get some revenge up in that top side. They swapped the top and support.
Спровоцировали сейчас Фнатиков на агрессию, но там уже дежурил Кикис, поэтому... Ну, с другой стороны, ничего хорошего в принципе и не произошло, просто поменялись лайнами, чтобы стоять 2 против 1, и есть... Сейчас Фнатики подтягиваются на топ, скорее всего они будут пытаться дайвить, но Поппи чувствует, поэтому... И Z начинает уже дамажить.
Making unnecessarily risky plays as Gamsu phase dives out of the death sentence. Meanwhile, Kickus and Trek are up in the top.
Так, Трик своей ультой снес волну. Ну и не могут они как-то, не успевают они.
Tower's almost down. They have 3 members around it, and again, remember this Z can always move to join the fight as well.
And this is what G2 have had to do here to get Kickies out of that bad matchup for himself bot lane. It was really not. Oh, flash top.
Yeah, they're gonna get Trick knocked in, but he is
Так,
able
и
to get
килл.
out of the tower.
Это килл, и Клей... Нет, Клей выживает. Кикис... И успел себя захилить. Второй раз уже везение. То есть Фэбивен выжил, сейчас Спирит выжил, поэтому, ну, судя по всему, эта игра будет за Фнатиков, потому что уж слишком сходятся звезды на том, чтобы дать возможность Фнатикам выиграть.
Guaranteed kills.
Yeah, easy kills. Guaranteed turret that comes from it. Okay, it wasn't as at the same time, but it's fine. You get 2 kills, you push the next wave in, you get the turret. Great for Fnatic. The G2, on the other hand, they did get the bottom side, but the problem is Kick is still down on farm, and he's realistically never going to be in a situation to go up against Gamsu in an even setting here. And now they got a kill onto Reckless. They've allowed Reckless to be relevant in this game a little bit faster than he should be. Perks, although he nearly solo killed Forbidden, it was a nearly. It's a big difference.
Also had a Graves ult to help him in the solo kill.
Well, that's true, it wasn't quite solo. But what I mean to take away from that is that didn't assist Perks on how quickly he gets right? Is it didn't now punish Featherman in that situation.
And he's going all in.
Yeah, goes.
И, ну, нет, слишком как-то мало получилось урона. Ну, плюс еще активировался щит у Райза. Поэтому особо урон и не прошел. Плюс маловато все-таки у него. Урона еще на данном этапе. Вот он. Закончил хекс. Ну, G2 продолжают. И сейчас Перкса прям убить хотят всей командой, но ничего из этого не получилось. Поэтому возьмут они, скорее всего, только вышку. Но это тоже неплохо, потому что в любом случае это будет хорошо, потому что килл уже даже не ФБ, поэтому смысла нету. Ну, а за вышку дали 1000 на команду, и это очень хорошо.
is by stacking down in the bottom side and take the tower. They traded mid out in exchange. This was the attempt onto Perks to kill him. Flash comes through, Perks gets himself away at first.
Немного не успел Гамсу. Если бы Гамсу успел вовремя подойти, то не выжить было бы совсем, конечно.
Then he won't be able to wave play properly as a Rise, because then 3 man is going to be around him. There's an Alistar who doesn't care about your tower, and he wouldn't be able to do much. But if Italy hadn't been mid lane at that very moment, he could probably play out the entire wave just against the Ezreal and Alistar. Therefore, delayed Fnatic when they were pushing mid, allowing them to take bot tower and then rotate to mid, defending that tower. But obviously, because Spirit was already there, Perks gets forced away, has to flash as well, and loses tower.
Look at the discipline though, when it comes to vision control that Fnatic have seemingly ingrained upon themselves. They got some pigs out on the map. They got 4. They're even aligned officio, looking nice and neat in the inventory. All about that vision
И
control.
выживает все-таки Гамсу, приходится ему заюзать флэш, но в любом случае он остается в живых, но тут подходит вся команда соперников и первый килл для G2. Теперь по деньгам у них преимущество практически небольшое, но они уже традиционно G2 лидируют по вышкам. Но в это время может Z спокойно сплит-пушить. Особо ему Грейвс не соперник на данном этапе, потому что урона Z может уже влить достаточно. Потому что 1 на 1 оставаться опасно. Ну, посмотрим. Нет, все-таки придется отойти. Зеду чувствует он, что пора. Ну и в этот раз Фнатики начинают брать Геральда. И это правильное решение, потому что забывать брать такие части. И сейчас, ну нет, ничего не будет. Уйдет Реклс. Но ему еще необходимо все-таки. Смотрим. Выжил Фебивен, умрет Трэш, умирают все, и, ну, все-таки зря. Вот зачем Клей пришел, вообще непонятно, но умрет. Красный баф сделает свое дело, ну и есть шансы умереть у Кикиса. Ну, нет. Ну и грамотно, то есть сейчас пригодится очень хорошо Геральт, поможет он снести вышку оперативнее. Ну и все началось с чего? Ну и классный влет, конечно же, от Алистера. Прошлась ульта, также от Израиля по троим. Ну вот здесь вот зачем Алистер вообще шел без хп? Там на одну тычку оставалось, логично, что его убьют. Ну, глупое решение какое-то, конечно же, от Алистера. На самом деле, слабоват чувак. По сравнению с остальными, конечно же, иначе бы он не играл в профессиональной лиге.
Just such a problem now that February is extremely far ahead on farm. He got to that side lane very quickly.
Ну и да, Фебиван на полтинник опережает по фарму. Это чудовищно.
Perks cannot hold February right now in these 1v1s. He can maybe run away if he pops the exhaust, but that's about it.
That's the nature of the game. That's been too slippery to get caught. He may not be able to get the 1v1 on, and Perk's trying to hunt him down, but there is just nothing doing there. The next dragon will be up and at him in about 5 seconds. G2 really not in a position to try and contest this one. It would just be the first for Fnatic. And probably not worth, especially with so many scattered members across the map.
Yeah, right now as G2, you try and slow down the game a little bit. You're not opting into any more fights. It was the push on mid lane without a teleport top laner. It's one of these macro mistakes we don't see very often anymore, where team is basically saying we actually don't have teleports right now, but we will still trying to go aggressive towards an enemy tower. It's normally very easy to call, oh wait guys, we can't.
Ну, вообще для G2 сейчас необходимо тормозить игру как можно сильнее, для того чтобы Райс набрал свой power spike, так называемый. То есть итемы, после которых он просто начинает наносить чудовищный урон. А это Rod of Ages, это Архангел, конечно же, плюс пробивание, там, Void Staff какой-нибудь. Ну, либо в данном случае, пожалуй, лучше будет Жоня, но опять-таки он сейчас с экзостом. Поэтому можно обойтись теоретически без Жони, то есть все-таки Void Staff взять. О, и хорошо зашло копье, просто половину хп сняло. И, ну, традиционный паук. Паук пик. И еще одно копье. То есть все идет у Спирита. Звезды сходятся.
G2 have brought though in this best of 5 so far. I like the game 1 picks and bans that they've brought, trying to punish a little bit of what Fnatic were trying to do, and ultimately got a great fight and ended the game. There have been a few moves with regards to how they tried to punish Fnatic's early swap, where this is something that clearly G2 have looked at and have said, Fnatic do this, how we counter with it is by pushing that bottom lane. We get the bottom in a turret, we trade the mid outer. So there are certain things that you can see G2 have prepared that they're doing very specifically for this best of 5.
Also around the support picks, yeah, the double range support for Hybrid and trying to get that 2v2 lane going for G2, and obviously they won the lane phase. If you look at the top side of the map, well, we had the 2v2, but they lost on the bottom side, pick is against Gum, so this is Echo here, a pick that was extremely strong yesterday, picked in all 5 games, obviously across the world it's being picked and banned in almost every single game right now, and it is one of these picks where you have to consider banning it. Because I feel like he has a little bit of extra power compared to some of the other top lane picks, because he deals more damage. And he's still as tanky as most of these other picks. Obviously not as tanky like say a Maokai, because he has damage reduction.
Надо форсить события все-таки Фнатикам, пока у них есть преимущество.
But now we have to beg the question of, we're in the same side selection for the rest of the series. What is most impactful here? Is it the Echo coming out from Gamsu? Is it the Nidhi coming from Spirit? Because unless you want to drop both the Sivir, the Lissandra and the Kindred out of your bans, one of these two at least has to get through. So it's on G2 to find the solution to this problem over the next couple of games. It is a best of 5. It's not the end of the world if they lose a game once because of it, but if it starts happening and keeps being a problem, then you have to really adjust.
The gun right here is Perks. Taking a little bit of damage from Fetch. Deathmark wasn't able to proc for too much, but even burned the ignite on
Ну, Гамсу хорошо так раскормлен, 2 килла, 3 ассиста, поэтому он в этом матче как-то активно себя очень ведет. Так, смотрим, что получится из этого. Идет телепорт, но тут же уже подошел Рэкл. Есть у него урон, Трик должен умирать, но нет, он все-таки умудрился уйти. Тут же Поппи довольно неплохо ультанула. Но Эмперору уже не уйти, потому что попал, плюс Эзраэль с синим билдом. Ну, это очень противная штука, поэтому это сейчас автоматически значит нашора для команды Фнатиков. И просто вся команда, посмотрите, насколько команда мобильна. Один Алистер как лох пошел пешком. Теоретически Перкс с Поппи могут хорошо влететь, потому что урон у Перкса очень хороший. И забрали сейчас, главное спокойно отойти, без тимфайтов всяческих.
You just said it yourself. The Z pick obviously means no teleport. It also means now there's not really any crazy flanks happening between the two teams. We get a very standard teleport coming in the middle of it, but he's kind of realizing his team is already dead by the time he arrives. And obviously with this Z, because Z can go to that side lane and has kill pressure, we see how far back Perks are playing. And this is what we talked about, go way back. The way to play with these 1-3-1.
Интересно, Z вообще что-нибудь получил в этом тимфайте? Потому что он как-то совсем поздно подтянулся. Ну да, судя по всему, совсем поздно, потому что 5 киллов из 11 довольно маловато. Но его задача, по большому счету, это сплит-пушить постоянно. То есть 1 на 1 Зеда довольно сложно заломать. Кстати, от стандартного билда Ботер Z отошли уже команды. То есть сейчас, смотрите. Ну, естественно, Мальмортус, потому что он стоит против чудовищного АПшника. Поэтому ему понадобится. Ну и плюс сейчас пробивание на Мальмортусе, поэтому просто шикарный итем. К тому же секира собрана. Но сейчас сложно будет очень против Фнатиков бороться, потому что там у него есть, у них есть синий С, который собрал в себе все 3 итема, которые ему необходимы. И сейчас Перкс умрет. Нет, все-таки выручает его Трэш. Но Спирит успевает благополучно. А Фебивен, смотрите, то есть о чем я и говорил, его задача сплит-пушить. 1 на 1 его никто особо не запрессует, поэтому с ним сталкиваться никто и не захочет. Поэтому он вполне себе безопасно. А если на него толпой пойдут, значит где-то освободился лайн.
And he gets instantly picked up by Fnatic. They rotate up to the top and punish.
Towers getting totaled. They've got the bot. They've got the mid. Kikis is chasing down on Febvin. But meanwhile, the base is just in tatters. Gamsu still working at that top side.
Сразу же со всех сторон просто прессингуют Фнатики. В принципе, единственный, кого на данный момент стоит опасаться, это Райс. Вот он прям может очень хорошо навалять всем, но с ним особо и не связываются, то есть к нему никто близко даже не подходит. Он живет своей неприкосновенной жизнью с какого-то момента.
There are some key picks they have to look at and say, like, do we have to maybe ban away an anchor? Do we have to ban Z if we don't really have an answer?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound quite far a reach, but we both chuckled in picks and bans when Piper covered Talon. Now, I only say that because it's an old counter to Z, and that is the one way
when you had a silence.
Yeah, that's true, when you had a silence. Thank you. I forgot that got taken away. What I was going to say, however, though, maybe is they need to look for a pick that isn't such a scaler on picks, because it kind of nullifies a lot of his potential in this game, and it doesn't specifically have to be Talon, but certainly they need to look for other options.
Well, if you look at other, assassins, you can maybe pick into it. With one was never a good matchup against that. Ari has been nerfed, was the go-to pick for a lot of mid laners before. Get early arm guards and then play Ari to then use charm behind you and set ultis you. But she's been nerfed.
Ну, преимущество, конечно, в золоте уже гигантское просто. Два ингибитора открыты, все копья влетают куда надо и... Ну, потому что возможностей не так много. Единственная возможность подойти это флэш для Райза. И Фэби, он просто не задумываясь сразу же прожимает все, что у него есть, тем более возможность благополучно. Просто для того, чтобы отогнать, и была возможность взять ингибитор. Ну, сейчас он второй. Так, Спирит все-таки убежал. Гамсу досталась вторая порция подлавливания. Не получилось у Райза дать полный проказ в одного.
His scaling is still fantastic, but he's just so far off where he can really become a massive carry. His blue pill is real sitting on 4 items right now. Let's see the fight again. It's actually Perks flashing forward.
Yeah.
Doesn't get the snare on Reckless.
And the thing now is, now that he has no flash, it means they have to consistently run back. There's no real danger of Perks turning to engage. In any situation here, it's only when Featherman steps up, and Perks still keeps going back. He's still running away because he can never escape if massive crowd control hits him.
And this is like the third fight in a row that we've seen Kickis just out of position far enough to where he has to either back or try for the slow flank, and he can't get involved in that. You can see him trying to defend here, but it's already too late because they've already lost one, and then he nearly gets blown up.
Yeah, he's still alive in the end. Trick. Same can be said for him, and then he dies.
Гамсу, конечно, маленько не долетел.
Just yet. Once we get out of this replay, we should be able to see if they're just setting up for that Baron. We talked about 5 more seconds.
Up for a death rush.
Great life for the Baron. Spawned and killed. Oh, there's a sneaky little ward placed just outside by G2, so they will be able to see Fnatic move into the pit and start it. And they honestly have to just go for an all-in fight here.
Так, ну, здесь сейчас последнюю возможность для G2 предоставляют Fnatic. Потому что если сейчас они не выиграют тимфайт, то все вообще уже проиграно. Все-таки выжил Фабиван в очередной раз, просто ушел на нулях. И
They get the TP from Kickis, they drag G2 into a fight, and now there's no real response available to stop Fnatic from doing this Baron.
ну это на шор, и все, и это финиш.
Only real moves that we saw G2 having was that attempt at a kill from Perks, and you know G2 pushing the bottom side for that tower, but after that it's been all about Fnatic.
Yeah, simply some mistakes and problems for G2 in the early game. You talked about Kickis dying 1v1 against the Echo, and then of course that move in the mid lane where they had no teleport on the Poppy, and they went to push in this mid tower, and suddenly Fnatic collapses, gets multiple kills, really far ahead in this game, and no response to the side lanes really. This is a game what G2 have to do. You just kind of surrender your base for now and just try and all in for a fight.
Ну, пытались, сделали они все, чтобы поймать Фабивана, но чуть-чуть не хватило, буквально совсем чуть-чуть.
First rotation for G2. If the Italy is the first pick again from Fnatic, if he cannot play it, you have to ban him.
Yeah, absolutely. And surely after 3 weeks, and Echo's been in the meta for 2 at least of the 3 weeks when you look at LCK and other regions. I mean, that's a big question. We're gonna have to see if it's
Так, ну и третий ингибитор уже просто так. Для того, чтобы не рисковать, наверняка дождаться сейчас подойдут большие крипы и просто отвлекать внимание, потому что сражаться и отбиваться от крипов одновременно с 3 лайнов это не получится, это просто нереально. И отличный влет от Алистера сейчас будет. Куча смертей, но выживает Райс, но этого недостаточно. И 1-1. И серия превращается до 2 побед. Поэтому посмотрим, что дальше. Все-таки работу хорошую провели, видимо, Fnatic. Ну и плюс звезды сошлись. Потому что на таких ХП уходить столько раз, ну, это что-то странное, подозрительное. И кроме как с сошедшимися звездами по-другому не назовешь. Ну, а теперь ждем следующий матч.
And then Reckless was like, you know, I'll just do my build and then I'll pick up a Mortal Reminder because Ryze is going to try and heal himself up and I'll just stop that happening. And now Perks can't do anything, Kickers can't do anything. I'm still here at the back. No deaths for Reckless there.
Always happening. Yeah, I mean, big, clean, very, very solid victory for Fnatic. Now we're going to go send it back to the analyst desk to break down how Fnatic managed to tie that series up.
Well, Pyrotechnics, I'd like to start with a quote from Crepo during Champion Select when we had the first pick Nidalee coming up and then the Lucian Thresh from G2. It's over, by the way. They're gonna pick Ezreal and it's FF20.
Yeah, no, if they pick three losing matchups, I just saw this like Nidalee first pick, Fnatic gets really happy and then they draft their signature 3 losing matchups and they lose the L control. But they didn't.
No.
Because they had a crucial matchup. But we'll get to that. First pick and bans.
Yes, what else did we see that was important in these picks and bans? Obviously, you guys talked a lot about the champion that Trick and respectively Spirit would end up on. But what else in this pick and ban was notable for you, Amazing?
I definitely don't like the combination of Thresh and Grace overall because it just feels like that you cannot contest 2v2s ever, and it basically relies on your enemy to be bad in order for you to make plays. And I felt like G2's overall combo was just really passive and really relied on Fnatic to screw up in a couple of instances. And since that didn't happen, and the swap happened. Thresh didn't have a purpose the whole game, and Grace didn't have one either because Nidalee is a fast farmer, got ahead like by 20 CS, so Grace had no pressure on the map, and they just got outscared, to be fair.
On top of that, with the standard lanes, it wasn't the best story for Kiki's down bot. Let's take a look at a couple of replays because
yeah, so
Gamsu just bodied him.
Yeah, so it starts very early.
Oh.
This
the
is
mid lane.
the mid
It's
lane.
the Ryze power.
This is the Ryze power, so this is
We
a
can just
different
take a look at
replay.
this one.
We can also look at
This time is really balanced and requires a lot of skill, as we see.
Could you do this, Vander? Are you mechanically gifted enough?
Support players are not good enough to play Ryze.
As well, tilted.
Basically, Perks is known to play guitar, you know, so he has fast fingers.
Here we go, by the way.
QWE.
Alright, so
This is really crucial, I think, for this game because it allowed Fnatic to play faster the game overall, and Ryze wants to scale.
yeah.
And I'm really disappointed here in Kikis. I said that I actually disagree with people who say he's bad, but he proved me wrong.
No, it all started earlier, and we got a lot of replays here, so we'll get to the narrative later. This is a dive that happens a little later, where Trick and Kikis end up dying. But it all plays together in one big wall. It started very early, where Gamsu won a trade against Kikis, and he forced him to flash early. Gamsu got a CS advantage. Then this trade happened, where we saw Kikis die, refused to use his flash again, until he was already dead. Bigger advantage. So Gamsu was snowballing ahead. Then randomly, we saw Kikis head to the top lane, but we don't really know why.
We don't know why, and I didn't really...
We couldn't see, but we assumed that it was for Kikis to dodge that Echo matchup, but he ended up getting dove there again because not only did they swap top, they gave an Ezreal when he has a tier versus a BF Warhammer matchup into the Lucian. Also, like, that swap was so bad for G2 overall, and I think it was prompted from Kikis losing that matchup against the Echo, where I think G2 need to really reconsider their pick and ban. We're going to have 4 games on the same sides now, and that Echo matchup needs to be fixed, taken off the table, or picked by Kikis himself.
Yeah, let's take a look at a final replay, which sealed the deal in the favor of Fnatic while they had everything set up already.
Yeah.
We're trying to go for it?
Yeah, this is where it's actually going a lot better here for Fnatic, especially with Clyde coming in with a good combo.
Yes, I think Perks a bit overstepped there. He didn't get the dive he wanted, and then Clyde timed it really well because as soon as the Lantern connected to Thresh, he used his Pulverize, and then he got the 2 people guaranteed, and it basically won the teamfight here for Fnatic. So I think last game we could see Clyde's Alistar not that good in teamfights, got caught a bit before, so that he didn't have his flash ult in crucial moments, but here he made the difference.
We also had something to say about Hybrid. Thresh play at times, he wasn't as convincing as he would be on the rest.
I think Thresh is just really, when you're not ahead, like this pick wants to win lane and then get ahead from it. So you bring your jungle there, you control the side, you are laning on the 2v2, and then you can transition to mid, get some towers. But from this lane swap, he got put to Echo lane, which can just wave clear, and it basically Alistar scares Thresh hard. 2
questions for the picks and bans quickly for going into the next game with what we know, and we know that Fnatic is now on the blue side for the remainder of the games. Was the rise shown too quickly maybe because they kind of let that cat out of the bag already? And is not the top lane the thing we should be looking at if, you know, obviously if Echo gets put in that matchup or on other champions?
I don't think that the top lane matchup per se is going to be that much of an issue. I think it was just a random screw up by Pikikis, to be fair. I think that shouldn't happen next game, and he'll probably improve on that. But I do not think that this was the place to actually like have the right come out. I think there was no reason for G2 to pick it, and it's not because it's a surprise pick, it's simply because there's no pressure on the map with the comp that they had, and against that, especially 1-3-1 later on in the game, there's nothing that's going to happen, especially if the Z gets a bit rolling and can then rotate to mid lane for dives and everything.
I agree with Amazing that I don't think top lane is crucial here. I think G2 has to ban Nidalee to not allow Spirit have control over Trick. I think it's really important. And then Z. Normally people are not picking Z blind on the blue side, but when Lissandra is banned and you have a really good Z player, I think you can pick Z and open the 1-3-1, which is perfect with Alistar and Ezreal on mid lane. Because Ezreal is actually AD carry who can control the mid lane really well.
I would disagree actually with the pressure point. I think with Lucian Thresh in a 2v2 matchup against an Ezreal, you have plenty of pressure. The Z did fine in mid. This is with Amazing's point. Overall, but it's just, the Echo needs to be fixed. But I don't see the point in banning Kindred if you're going to leave Nidalee open. I think you kind of shoot yourself in the foot then. At least give them one, take the other. And then at least you have something in pick and bans. Because the Nidalee pick, uncontested, it's just too
No, I just don't think... the point is that Grace is not the answer to Nidalee.
Yeah.
You should probably play a champion that is able to pressure to a certain extent, like something like Lee or Elise, and actually like... be able to contest the Nidalee. But if you just play a farming matchup where you go Nidalee into Grace, Nidalee's going to get ahead and Grace is going to be useless coming to the later stages of the game if he doesn't get the farm that he needs.
Makes sense.
That's the beauty of a best of 5. We'll see what happens. And with the series tied at 1-1, it's time for us to go on cooldown as the team's ready up for Game 3 already. But before we go, we'll get a closer look at Europe's Spring 2016 Rookie of the Split.
Happy that I actually finished my musical school, because knowing how to play an instrument is something really relaxing. I guess it just like moves your mind from one focus on something else. I finished my musical school like 2 years ago. It was like really hard for me to keep up the practice with school and sports I was doing and overall playing games, which I liked. When you're younger and you're a kid and you want to do other stuff, it's really hard to actually keep up the dedication to play the guitar, and like I was getting forced a lot by myself and my parents. I would say I'm confident with everything that I do if I put time and effort in it. But it came throughout. It just built up, and I was going to competitions and stuff, and it was a lot of I was nervous on every stage, and it was like really hard for me to actually perform as good as I would do in practice in guitar in front of like so many people. So I would say playing guitar on stage actually helped me a lot to overcome my stage nervousness.
There were a lot of times split where you said, it doesn't matter what I play, I will kill this guy. And I said, are you sure? I've played against this guy, he's pretty good. And then he just killed the guy.
In my life, I played a lot of solo queue. I spent a lot of time on solo queue. It's not only playing solo queue, it's just seeing other people play and then imitating their play and making it better on your own is also very important, because you save a lot of time by not learning everything yourself and just copying someone else and then actually doing it as good or if not better. That's how I improve myself a lot. I watched some Korean replays or point of view of LPL, like good millionaires like Rookie, Paul and stuff like that. But from Europe, I would say I actually copied a lot of my plays from Bevan. And from NA, yes, Bjergsen is the one I looked up to. I think esports is actually rising a lot, and for me, this was the best thing that happened.
Welcome to the League of Legends Championship Series, Gamers 2! We will see you in 2016!
It's really cool to qualify for LCS with like a challenger team, and then do so good with the challenger team in the LCS. It was only me and Hybrid staying from our original positions, and I could not expect much going into LCS. I mean, I knew I was gonna do good myself, but I didn't know how good were my other players. Like, how would Kikis fit top and how would my Koreans do? We only had 1 week to scrim. After scrimming that week, we were winning everything and we meshed really well. So I was actually expecting us to be at least top 3 team.
To be fair, I had my doubts about this man right here on your screen, Perks, but he delivered.
For me, I don't think I have that much pressure on myself. Like, even though I do want to win everything, but I don't think it matters that much. Like, it's already my first split and I've already exceeded the expectations of people and of myself. So, like, whatever happens, it's just a plus from here on.
I really feel like personally I'm on a higher level than 6th place, and I think as a team we got a confidence boost right now, and we have been scrimming Gamers 2 a lot, actually sometimes in our favor, so I was more scared of Fatality than actually G2.
Fnatic definitely have been able to surprise. Welcome back, everyone, to the European LCS Spring Playoffs, where G2 and Fnatic are tied 1 win apiece, which means we could have all 5 games today, still possibly.
Still possible. Obviously, both teams had a game each where they played really well. First game, G2. Maybe we're a little bit slow, but honestly played well overall and managed to get that one team fight in the end. Still, the pick and ban phase is the really interesting thing, because again, Fnatic, of course, is on blue side. And the last one, I felt like with the Rise last pick, it was Thunderlords being picked.
There's the Echo ban, though.
Okay,
very quick answer.
This tells me Kikis cannot play Echo. Right here, right now. Because otherwise, they could have early rotation that Echo themselves on the side of G2. Or they have 2 specific picks that they cannot give up. And therefore they will have to pick them and couldn't take the Echo.
They're pinching their own support pool here as well, with Bard, Braum already banned, Alistair banned away.
I mean, they want to Thresh.
Hang on, are they trying to either force Fnatic to like first pick a support, which by the way Fnatic won't do?
Yeah.
They're just going to go, well, we'll get the Nidalee again because we either get Nidalee or Kindred here. They're probably going to take, I would guess, the Kindred in this situation.
Yeah.
So now G2 in my mind have to take the Trundle in first rotation.
I definitely agree on Trundle. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, the flex it! Don't take. Well, I guess it takes it now.
It takes it away. Yeah.
That's good enough.
You are setting yourself up, and then But you're right. You are 100% correct. Still Trundle away. Say, oh, was that the support you were going to pick when we took the Thresh? Well, that's not going to happen. Again, the last game for G2, there was a lot of focus around, going even top lane was the plan. Win the 2v2 as well with the Thresh solution, and then have that Rise running Thunderlords as the keystone. Being able to beat the Z early on, trying all in and surprise February. It didn't happen. February stayed alive due to the potion. Rise did the snowball, and then everything kind of fell apart in the side lanes.
Very, very slowly, that's for sure. Potion's definitely keeping them alive. So with this last second turnover, they locked the Lissandra, which was left open, and the Sivir.
Yeah, the Lissandra Sivir banned away last game, and interestingly enough, no priority on either.
I'm not a fan here.
Again, G2 are looking for the Thresh, so focused on getting Hybrid the Thresh, which, let's be honest, in both the win and the loss has been almost a non-factor.
I am not a fan of what G2 is doing right now. I feel like they're trying to target Cly way too much.
Yeah.
I mean, he can still pick at Janna if he wants to play some disengage.
He's played Soraka, not that I think it's the best of supports, but
Karma support is being used right now. At Sivir plus Karma, and their mobility is insane. And also, you can actually match the laning phase of a Thresh with a Karma. I think Karma support would be a great pick coming in for Clyde. I'm just still surprised that G2 is targeting what we would consider the weakest member on this Fnatic lineup in this current meta right now. And a very inconsistent player. And look what they give them. Kindred, the best jungler for Spirit. Sivir Lissandra, many teams would say this is the best combo you can have on this patch. Double TP, insane mobility, great wave clear. Fnatic are getting almost everything.
And with the Poppy Nautilus locked in, they've got a big pair of bruisers to frontline this one up. And this Sivir comp, if G2 get caught out, it's going to hurt.
Ooh, Rise last picked out by Perks thinks that it wasn't the pick that was the problem, and also wasn't specifically the matchup of the Zed.
I don't think the Rise was the problem. No. I think he actually came in with a plan, as we talked about, getting Thunderlords or early damage and trying all in the Zed. It then didn't work. Specific reasons. Now you can run Teleport because it's into Lissandra. You don't run Cleanse. Yeah. And that means at level 6, Lissandra and her jungler can very easily gank you and all in you. It's something we've seen a lot in the past, but Perks really wants to match this double TP and have this Rise follow the Lissandra. So in this game, we will see a lot of pressure around that 1v1 between the two mid laners, because every single time Perks is in a side lane, or even in the lane after level 6 of Lissandra, a gank is possible with no cleanse on the Rise.
All right, back to the double TPs to see how much action is going to happen this one. Young Buck, Dalo are shaking hands, walking off the stage. I think this is going to be quite bloody, quite fast. We've come to expect that from these two teams, haven't we?
I mean, Fnatic have got progressively more aggressive in these games. They got game 1, Kassadin, will wait. Now game 3, they're like, yeah, let's take Sivir, let's take Lissandra, let's take a Poppy. It's going to be great. Let's just go all in at all times.
They might do that. If you guys agree, if you think Fnatic are going to roll away with this one to make the series 2-1, hit us up at Elevable Esports, #FNC winner. G2 going to get the next win on the board. We'll have to find out. This one is going to get bloody. And we are onto the Rift.
And it's so fun watching these new pick and bans because G2 are clearly sticking to this strategy they prepared coming into this, relying on that strong 2v2 lane with Hybrid and Emperor, and then trusting in Kikis just to match whatever tank setup he gets. Obviously, we knew it was going to be Trundle top because it was picked so early. I'm still surprised they surrendered to Sivir Lissandra. Spirit might get caught out. Kikis will have to start Pillow most likely, and he won't.
Oh, that's okay. No, that's worth.
Hybrid, that was the thresh time to shine if that hook hits over the wall.
He knew he was gonna flash it. It's like, mad life.
Yeah.
Didn't take the shot. He missed.
Well, that cost that Kikis a bit in the early game. They're level 1 now with the pillar. It's not very scary.
Well, here's a question for you though, Deficio. G2 have been sticking to the game plan, which has so far only worked out for them one of those times, and it was off a pretty hectic fight that ended.
I mean, they got 50% win rate, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, but let's think about this though. This is their first best of 5 in the LCS. Is this a weakness that's being revealed right now?
I think it's G2 who practiced something in scrims that worked extremely well for them, and I feel like this is the best way for them to win right now. And they won't change unless they feel really forced to. So obviously by changing up the picks and the bans a little bit, again we had the Kindred ban was lifted. It was Nidalee ban instead. First pick Kindred coming in for Spirit. They are changing up certain things and then picking the supports. I still don't feel Cly is the man you need to target on Fnatic though.
I would completely agree with that.
Oh, over the red buff. Spirit. Emperor had to flash that one after the exhaust was on him, and it's just going to delay things for everybody. No one's happy with that.
Fnatic just had to commit a lot up to that red buff, take for themselves. So we'll see how that ripple affects through the game. Gamsu did use his teleport to get to the top lane as well here. So I'm just going to check the experience difference. It's even. Ever so even, but Gamsu has a slight amount more.
They both managed to get in just when the melee minions were dying. Obviously, again, after the change, but all the melee minions will happily start hitting each other. You don't have the RNG, but once again, Perkz is running Thunderlords as his keystone, so very clearly he's playing a much more aggressive Rise in the laning phase compared to what we see over in the LCK and even in LCS.
Definitely the case. Perkz, last time he didn't go down too quickly, so he wasn't incredibly squishy despite that. But relying on that damage output, he just wasn't able to put it out. I mean, the closest he came was popping Febivin, or nearly popping him in the beginning, and Trick just not being able to polish him off, leaving at that 7 HP mark. Speaking of marks, Spirit will have not too hard of a gathering one.
Winning the lottery early.
Yeah, sometimes RNG sometimes is in your favor.
Yeah, and for this Kindred pick on Spirit, I mean, whether Fnatic pivoted after their first pick or not remains to be seen, but they got a lot of freedom for kind of a teamfight setup and aggressive plays early on because Kindred's going to synergize very well with the Lissandra, with the Civic, keep everybody alive on your team, and after you've taken down the enemy, whoever you're looking for, just kind of walk away and you're all fine. Hook lands on the bottom lane. This is going to be another walk away and you're fine moment for Cly here. I don't really think it's going to result in too much.
But again, G2 is looking for this scaling teamfight composition where you have Graves as a teamfighting jungler in the late game. Sterix more, you become very, very tanky as a bruiser. Of course, you have now the Trundle to steal away stats from the Puppy up in the 1v1 and also in the teamfights, and then the scaling Rise. So one more time, G2 is looking for a lot of scaling. But it will sacrifice, if you look at the mid game, where this Lissandra is going to be extremely powerful. Kindred as well has a very, very strong mid game. Good early farm. And we need to see Fnatic one more time. Play fast, play aggressive. And I want to see them gank this Rise once you hit level 6 on February, because again, he has no cleanse.
Starting to prep for that possibility, throws himself a ward down. Meanwhile, let's go back up to the top side where Gamsu and Kikis. This time Kikis is looking for revenge from last game. Look at that damage he's able to dish out. Grasp of the Undying proc, flashes, jumps, and that's first blood to Kikis.
And there's the punish on Gamsu not having his flash from earlier.
Как раз подошел к тому времени, когда произошел ФБ. То есть Кикис вообще мстит по-черному, как только может. И Клай, есть шансы у него умереть. И все потратил, но, к сожалению, не хватило немножко урона. Рекл, если бы у него бумеранг был, были шансы у Трика еще и склеить, так сказать, ласты.
And the heal from Reckless, it is a nice little exchange, but keep in mind now that Cly has his exhaust. In another trade like that, the kill pressure will no longer be there for G2.
Ну,
But again, this is what G2
тут
looking for
Перксу
in the
чуть
last game.
посложнее
That's
будет,
why
чем
G2
обижать
try to keep early picking
Зеда
pressure
в
on
начале,
Hybrid.
потому что
Trusting in
Лиссандра
him and
вполне
Emperor to
может
win that 2v2 late.
ответить,
For now,
еще
they're
и
not
подойти
winning
поближе
7-1,
и
and
зарутовать,
also forced to
поэтому
go back after the trade, and Reckless will be able to push
особо
out.
сильно, я
Looking at
думаю,
pressure,
Райс
you
не
wanna
будет
push it, you wanna
запушивать.
set up kills. And then of course again the scaling champion in the mid lane for Perks, so it's a bit of the same style for them as a team. Also they ignite maybe late game against Kindred also can prove useful, but typically it's on multiple members, and then obviously it becomes difficult to find that one target. The hero isn't even that massive.
Not too much trouble. Let's start these things off. G2 still trying to play the aggressive game, but they are content with doing it in the lanes for right now. Trick going to step forward, and it will find that pink ward in the brush. Hybrid and Emperor still a little bit down in the farm, but Cole's on both sides now, just to try and catch up with her, buckling in for a fairly long laning phase.
Some other itemization. There was some discussion on the analyst desk earlier about jungle items, but jungle is a core.
Yeah, indeed. Trick is going to go pretty low on this one. Feb's been trying to cut him off at the pass, and he takes him out with the ice shard.
И шикарнейше просто отрабатывают Фнатики, но хорошо отфлешился Фабивен, но успеет? Нет, не успел он все-таки уйти. И просто шикарнейшим образом играет Кикис, то есть он вовремя подошел. И даблкил для Райза. Это очень плохо. Клай грамотно отвел крипов от вышки. И ждали просто Трика, когда он придет. И надо было отходить, но...
And that good reaction TP as well from Kikis to secure another kill.
And Gamsu didn't follow. Gamsu did not go down into that middle lane.
Но вот здесь вот ошибка, в принципе, Клея, потому что первая автоатака всегда станет врага, и если бы он сразу же дал автоатаку, тем более он full хп, то вполне мог спасти своего мидера. Однако этого не произошло. К большому сожалению Фабивену. Так, ну и как-то решил не трогать, то ли не видит он его, то ли что. И сейчас Гамсу... Ну, есть 6-й левел у Спирита. И великолепнейшая ульта просто от Гамсу. Но есть все шансы забрать синий баф от Лиссандры. Это, в принципе, не так критично, но в любом случае неприятно. Так, Спирит ждет, и сейчас будут пытаться убить. Смотрим, и будет килл. Слишком переоценил маленько себя Кикис и свою ульту.
Perks will have TP very soon, and then Spirit just sitting ready on the tower, and Kikis is very, very low, and he's like, oh, okay, well now I'm dead.
It's a trick.
Смотрите, всех крипов лесник отдал своему топеру. То есть помог ему запушить, но крипов не забрал. Ну и игра более агрессивно, более интересно для просмотра. Немного непонятно, конечно, как будет жить Kindred в лейте, потому что при таком количестве урона, которое есть у G2, мгновенного урона, жить она будет недолго. То есть, если она успеет ультануть, она сколько-то поживет. Но вот если ультануть она не успеет, это просто мгновенная смерть. Ну и очень хорошо зачистили Vision G2. Так, и на бот идет угроза, Реклс там один, нет, с Клеем, и, ну, это просто фрикилл. Слишком долго он гулял и в неправильном месте. Так, Кикис врубил ульту, но сразу же получил ультой от Гамсу, и на этом, в принципе, все закончилось.
Yeah, good use of Lantern here by Hybrid, playing out a bit of vision, then realizing, oh, Clyde's actually moved into the river. We can just move behind him, collapse on him, so they Lantern in perks as well. Go down
Так,
for another
и
kill.
Спирит, ну, Спирит в этот раз очень грамотно отошел в сторону, и теперь куча, нет уже догорит. И еще один килл. Дабл килл для Kindred. Ну, раскармливать Kindred, не знаю, насколько есть смысл. Конечно, в тимфайте не до того было, чтобы дождаться кому же все-таки. Так, и но идет и в очередной раз, наверное, все-таки умрет. Да, так и происходит. И сразу же нападают на Перкса, и идет Лиссандра. Ульты нету, конечно же, но этого достаточно было для того, чтобы сохранить жизнь Спириту. Ну и Кикис очень полезен в этой игре, то есть каждый его телепорт означает смерть для соперника, плюс он еще вначале задуэлил Гамсу 1 на 1. Просто полезность зашкаливает. Так, смотрим, начался тимфайт, и Гамсу заходит сзади, посмотрим, как они разбегутся. Ну, Эмперор, наверное, должен умирать. И смотрим, умрет еще и Хайбрид. Вопрос, кому отдадут килл, и килл отдают Спириту. Немного непонятно, конечно, потому что такая пауза, решали кому, но Спирит решил не выбирать. Хотя, ну тут все-таки спорный вопрос, то есть лучше отдавать все-таки керри.
They can start turning with the dragon. I mean, this game is starting to get real hectic.
Yeah, obviously even in gold for now, but this benefits G2 a lot more. You have the scaling Rise, even the scaling jungler in this case here, and also a Trundle late game who makes it a lot harder for Poppy to play that frontline tank. So right now it's very good for G2. Perks, T-Position looks very bad at first because Fibrin can join, but because there's no ulti for this Lissandra, not able to lock down Perks, and I'm pretty sure his Rise is doing more damage than mine when he's just standing there machine gunning away. Because every time Fnatic gets even close to him, he almost instant pops someone. Tower does go down, and then we are going to swap down to the bottom side.
And here was the teleport out of the Poppy. So it was the 2v3 for just a second, and then Gomps
I mean, he had no other wards, and that one just disappeared as soon as he teleported to it.
The only option, I wonder, did Hybrid actually have his Lantern available here? I think he just used it earlier on getting Trundle out, so couldn't quite save the life. And ultimately, it was another kill. You know who's really benefited from the last few minutes of play here? Spirit, individually. So he picks up his Devourer, instantly gets 2 kills up in top river, comes down to the bottom lane, gets another kill and an assist, then gets a dragon and picks up a couple of scuttlers at the same time. He's just gone from 0 stacks on his Devourer to 17 very quickly.
Wow.
That's going to be a pretty big threat. I hope he's been putting his mark on the right people at the right time. G2 are pretty heavily invested in this top tower. Now, Fedman could be in some trouble here, but the end of the line is dodged out as it runs right into the wall. They still will be able to grab this tower, and Fnatic a little bit slower to react, or mostly hanging out in the jungle at the bottom side.
Well, they are pushing in the mid lane, Pyro, now.
That's you.
And Perks is here.
Yeah, that is going to be the tower down, but Perks will also fall, or rather, I should say,
Oh,
will also fall.
through it.
Perks keeps chasing through, and that was a very, very thin squeeze through that pillar of ice.
This game is just play-by-play heaven. Like, Pyro, you're just taking over the cast right now because it's constant just fighting and then trading a little
Give me
bit.
the mic to fish, yeah.
Хорошо
The
быть
viewers, they wanted
тонкой
kills, they wanted
девушкой.
action, they're getting it right now.
Подумал,
The LCS
рыкался
playoffs, that's
и
another tower
пролез
going down.
между
Now
стенкой и
5-3.
глыбой.
G2 looking to try to make that 1-6, but it
И
comes
вообще,
back.
сколько урона просто вносит Лиссандра.
Look at all that damage coming out there, but G2
Как раз
still
таки
back
вместе
away.
с Реклзом на пару,
Only
но,
Hybrid is out
к
of this
сожалению,
one.
этого не хватило.
And Fnatic
И
very
пришлось
low, but they do
Спириту
defend
использовать
Oh
ульту.
man, the cojones on Forbidden to go in on that one. 1v5 goes, got this, guys.
Ну,
He in,
Фобиван,
ult
конечно же,
himself.
шикарнейшим
It's
образом
okay, I've
влетел.
got Spirit coming in.
Однако
He gets
не
himself
хватило,
alive
к
from that
сожалению, этого не
situation.
хватило.
He managed, to delay G2 for so long that I think G2 are actually going to reconsider that kind of 5-man push once again against Alessandra. Very rarely is Alessandra at this situation.
Ну это шикарнейшим вообще образом. Один в пятерых влетает и... Ну, больше всего, конечно, Реклзу досталось. Успел он только кинуть бумеранг, ну и все. В принципе, этим ограничилось все.
Other than that, it's very, very tough. Like, okay, time the hook maybe, and that's about it. Otherwise, he can always ult himself. He can also get caught out.
Might do. There's the flay backwards, just cutting off his retreat path. The Spirit's here, the teleport. These fights just keep on happening. They're in the
И продолжается тимфайт, забирает все-таки Спирит вражеского саппорта, но у него просто вариантов нету. И еще один. Одной автоатаки не хватило, даблкилл. 2 килла для G2, но как-то не успел маленько Фобиван, потому что ульта с небольшой задержкой происходит, и все-таки убили его. Ну, особо ничем не пользуются в данной ситуации. G2 они получили пару киллов, взяли Геральда, и вот здесь вот. Но с другой стороны, они взяли максимум, в принципе, из этого. Не ожидал, видимо, Гамсу. Ну, тем более, тут еще Райс пришел. Ну, и не показали нам, каким-то образом умерла Поппи. Надо смотреть, как это произошло.
We haven't seen like an early gank onto him right there. It was actually onto Trick around the mid lane and ended up in a fight, giving 2 kills to Perks very early. He's not been punished early on. He's been able to scale up already. He's got 4 kills. 18 minutes in.
В принципе, неплохой урон выдает Спирит. Потанцевал вокруг Тикиса и снес ему половину жизни с лишним. Интересно, сколько меток уже собрано у Киндред, потому что дамажить ей особо не с чего.
Risks have paid off this time around. G2 are that team. We're just approaching just shy of that 20-minute mark, and it has been a lot of back and forth. 8 to 9 in the kill department. It's not quite 1 per minute, but this has been a marquee matchup for sure. Perks just zoning away, defending all the flanks or defending all the lanes as best they can, and really not a whole lot of emphasis on these side objectives. Of course, it's still fairly early into the game. I can't wait until the Baron starts becoming a factor, because if the fights are this hot right now, That's gonna be nuts.
But look at how Fnatic have now got to try and find the right fights. Look at the bottom side vision that G2 have already. You can see Fnatic coming from a mile away. So actually G2 getting caught out, even into a Sivir and a Lissandra kind of composition, G2 should have enough information to go, okay, well, we can see these people in the bottom side jungle, let's not go in there. Or you don't see them and they're like, well, they could be coming from this angle. So it's always the absence of information that gives you sometimes the most. At least it tells you which paths that you can clear very effectively.
All these wards will run out very soon, though. And then
we just did.
We kind of have to reset the map a little bit. Fnatic straight onto the dragon with the Kindred. And G2 at the moment are waiting for these teleports. We're gonna wait to set up the deep vision one more time, and now we have a fully stacked Kindred. 20 minutes in. Perks and his team, I mean, when you run with Perks right now, you know he will deal a lot of damage. You have Kigis as well to make it even easier. Like, oh, is that tank in front of me? It's not that tank anymore. Perks still shouldn't have tried 1v5.
Oh, on the hunt's already popped in. The Fnatic gang squad trying to come up huge here. They knock him back in, but this is getting real hectic. And the Lamb's Respite will buy a little bit of time. Teleport coming out from the backside. And it's Fevin trying to get his way into the fight. But meanwhile, it's already nearly over.
Прямо не очень, скажем, получился тимфайт и оставили Фабива на одного против четверых. Пусть и с full хп, но против четверых, поэтому законтролили его просто. Но это не 3 килла, это будет больше. Гамсу просто сейчас. Вопрос в том, насколько он проживет.
Does he ult to keep himself alive, which ultimately Perks stands on as well, and it keeps Rise able to just keep, throwing out abilities time and time again, gets added damage, or do you let yourself fall and have Perks die at the same time? Which is more integral to this fight? Well, G2 just
Кстати, отметил такую для себя вещь, что Трамдл укус не использует по КД. То есть вроде они запушивают, надо быстро, но он всего один раз использовал укус. И потратили просто все, и полностью дали возможность Люциану влупить всю ульту. И хватило того щита, который появился у Райза, для того, чтобы поглотить небольшую часть урона, но этого оказалось достаточно, чтобы его Лиссандра не ваншотнула все-таки.
Well, one of the big problems for Fnatic is the actual scaling component of their team is way outscaled by what G2 have got to bring here. And the fact that this Rise is ahead, the Trundle can shred through what armor Fnatic and, the resistances they're going to have available, and then Perks just kills everybody.
And this is what we talked about earlier, when it was extremely messy, constant trading, it was in favor of G2.
Yeah. Because
they stayed even in gold in the early game, where Fnatic were looking to have a very, very strong mid game. We haven't really seen these side lanes being much of a factor, because it's been constant fighting over and over. Whenever your teleport is ready, it seems like you just use it and you just engage in a team fight.
Just go.
Yeah. Whenever one of the teleports even is available, it's just been constant back and forth. Now we pretty much are on a kill a minute, but G2 are earning the lion's share of that one with 5,000 gold in the lead right now, and they will slip themselves into the Baron pit to start this one off just outside.
Так, и потихо берут G2. И, судя по всему, у них это получится, потому что не успевают, идет телепорт. Еще поймали Спирита к тому же, и все-таки забирает Грейвс, ультует Киндред. Смотрим, что из этого произойдет. Забрали двоих, топера и саппорта, но это не критично, потому что у двоих уже нету хп. И вполне может умереть и Спирит, и Гамсу. И, собственно, что и происходит. Райс просто не заморачиваясь, сразу же по КД флешится, то он себе произвел апгрейд ботинков до синих, чтобы чаще телепортироваться и чаще флешиться.
Fairly soon, but like this is so smart. When the only vision the other team has is the Rift Scuttler, you use your Thresh and the Lantern to pull in the only guy who doesn't have a dash over to the Trundle. But then look here, two guys coming in. Perk's like, oh, I'm joining, and then Gam's like, no, you're not. Out with him. And then suddenly they can win the fight.
Гамсу, конечно, хорошо очень выкинул Райза, но там уже все, в принципе, было решено. Ну и просто одной кушкой снес остатки жизни у Спирита. То есть, собственно, то, о чем я и говорил. Что Спириту будет очень-очень сложно переживать тот бёрстовый урон, который есть у команды G2.
I mean, this is a pick that's almost permanent by now in Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been played so much, and if it's not permanent, you pick it very, very early on. Europe has been very slow to catching on, except for Unicorns of Love, where Chachi have been playing it and it got banned away. And now Perks is showing it 2 games in a row. The first game, it didn't work.
Еще и синий баф подтягивает.
Didn't get that 1 kill, and that's again why G2's combo also fell apart very quickly, and the kickers died 1v1.
Так, и судя по всему, сейчас будет вышка, потому что вряд ли у них получится отдефать ее. О, еще и Спирит. Спирит сразу же. В этот раз он успел, конечно. Ну и опять Фабиван опять опаздывает.
Get that kill onto Spirit, and now Gamsu's caught in on the second wind hook, flashing away, but will it be enough? Play backwards, no, grasps the Undying Proc, saves his life, but Fnatic are retreating into their
поймает он его. Прямо на углу, но не хватило немного урона и, соответственно, лайф. Но опять начинает тимфайт.
Probably not, especially when you look at how G2 have just taken control of the last 10 minutes of this game.
Ну как-то очень мало урона с бумеранга у Реклза. То есть он швырнул, и у Райза, на что щит довольно небольшой, все равно он умудрился впитать в себя весь урон.
Like Trundle into Poppy, it's very straightforward, yeah? Especially for the Trundle, which was early picked as both denying it from Fly, but also giving that good matchup for Kick.
Интересно, а почему не берут телепорт саппорту? Это же было бы вообще круто. То есть взять какого-нибудь трэша, он кидает фонарь и телепортируется куда-нибудь. АДК хватает фонарь в последний момент, и они дружно вместе уходят. Конечно, требуется скилл. Так, у Трангла 3 кора, теперь он превратился просто в машину, которую очень сложно убить. Тем более пробивания очень мало у команд. Точнее, оно есть хоть какое-то только у Kindred. Так, и отправили Райза опять полетать. Тимфайт 5 в 4, посмотрим, что получится. Но Трик умудряется захватить больше. И просто очень и очень бесполезный саппорт в этой игре у команды Fnatic.
Here, apparently so. He is safe for now, but man,
2-1. И ждем с нетерпением, будет ли как во вчерашнем полуфинале, либо следующая игра станет последней. Смогут ли Фнатики в очередной раз сделать выводы для себя и что-то поправить в своих пиках и своих перемещениях.
Between mid laners in this one, but we also gotta look at the fact Kick is winning since lane. The 2v2 lane on the bottom side, they set up a few kills as well on Ply, and all across the map, G2 was snowballing.
And that's really the effect that you have to look at from the very early game is Fnatic will look at that game and be like, well, how did we get out-fought with Lissandra, Sivir, Kindred? The answer is, as you said, top lane, that flash from the jungle invade where Gamsu was forced to flash away, forced to teleport to the top lane, Kick is hit level 2 ever so slightly faster, traded with him. Just the knock-on effect, again and again, these little things, he kills Gamsu, is able to have more impact in team fights, and it wasn't the be-all end-all of the game, but certainly made it difficult for Fnatic to actually make the right choices for fights.
And when Fnatic had that one fight where they could get back into the game around the Raptor camp, we're still talking like 17-20 minutes, delayed teleport comes in, and also Spirit using his ulti to save himself, but also save Perks at the same time. Maybe that was the comeback, but it was even in the early game. It was in favor of G2 because they had much better scaling, so they can be happy with this game, and fun adaptations in the pick and ban phase.
We talked about it, the risky picks, but they were able to make it work, and everything went right for them. But now, we will send it back to the analyst desk to break down G2's victory for match point.
The Fisio says fun adaptations in the pick and ban phase. Obviously, one thing we saw was G2 coming out with the ban for Nidalee, and then still the Kindred first pick being able to come out from Fnatic. Obviously, we have the Kindred expert here on the desk. What did you make of that first pick, and then of course the Grace priority against it?
It was pretty interesting to see, to be fair, because I really...
It's a nice way to put that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I definitely think it's disrespectful towards Spirit if you give him Kindred and you have no trade-off for it. I don't think that Grace is a good matchup at all. I think it's something where Kindred has to screw up a lot in order to lose that matchup, which is something, if you're a good player, you shouldn't do. So...
nice flame, by the way. Because what ended up happening?
Whatever. No, but I don't know. I really think it's disrespectful, and I also think that the Grace pick per se is disrespectful, and you shouldn't pick Grace into Kindred unless you're really sure of your mechanical ability and really sure that your teammates will carry you.
Yeah, and there were some other matchups, like the Sivir Nautilus bot lane into Thresh case. Into Thresh Lucian. It's a skill matchup, but it's very push dependent. And actually, the first replay that we want to highlight here is exactly that. The level 1 played out, a couple of movements happened, but Reckless and Clyde, they got the push on the first wave. I think this is something really important. Right now, they could move up forward and keep pushing in Thresh and Lucian always 24/7 under the tower. Instead, they opt to go for Crux. Vander,
Yes.
I don't like it. Give me your opinion.
Basically, that's only thing Nautilus and Sivir could do in this matchup. They were really lucky by this opportunity that Lucian had to ban Flash even. But they went golems and they basically lost all the lane advantage. And at least what they got is that Gamsu lost Flash and TP. And Kiki is punishing for it.
Yeah, and the reason that we actually attached this solo kill that we will now talk about is because that kind of swung everything. So in the early game, there was an altercation in the jungle where Gamsu lost his flash. Reckless did get the pathing advantage to bot lane, so they could technically have the push priority in that lane all the time, pushing forward, putting pressure. But they yield that by moving to the Crux, and they got pushed in over and over themselves. Then obviously the cost of that flash in the early game was in the top lane that Kikis got a solo kill. So suddenly now G2 was winning 2 side lanes instead of just 1, and that actually helped them a lot in the early game.
Basically level 1 made bot lane winning for Fnatic and top lane winning for G2. And
Fnatic said no thank you.
With Clyde.
And what happened then was a super interesting mid-game.
Why are we replacing bad in Clown Fiesta with interesting? It's like, yeah, this pick and ban phase was very interesting.
I mean, I just want to let you talk about it. It was just fights and fights all over, and seeing that here, it starts off quite well and well played by Lissandra, but the Rise is so strong.
Yes, they went on Graves here, and I don't know if it is the right choice, because Rise basically killed this Spirit alone, and faster TP from Kikis. That's what I was talking about before, and yeah. If you put Rise ahead, I think it just carries along.
Yeah, it was a really good flash here initially from the Rise though, and then this is Spirit kind of.
He was
baiting Kikis.
Kikis is throwing a bit, yes.
Kikis got this, but Macy was like this is killed.
Here was a big comeback by Fnatic because they made the Febiven Lissandra Rise matchup equal again, and it's some good plays from Febiven here. But overall,
Но вообще в данной ситуации возникает один вопрос. Вообще,
I feel like this game
Наутилус
felt a lot like
попадает
a sprint where
якорем.
you're like,
Почему
first
Райс
swim up there,
умудряется
go
вместе
right
с
to the
якорем
side,
отфлешиться?
kinda wanna finish
И
the
почему,
game.
если
And you have
все-таки
these kind of plays coming in, this is
Наутилус
really
идет
go late. And I don't know, there was no respect for
притягиваться к
either
своей
team,
жертве, то
in the
почему он
players,
тогда
but
не идет следом на ту сторону? Почему он остается на этой стороне? Какая-то ерунда творится.
They three supports were banned and they first attack trash, and it's really. I think every support in Europe now just plays 4 champions, which is Bart, Braum, Fresh, and Alistar. And when 3 of those are gone, you pick the 4th. Then the other guys has to go Nautilus and die a lot.
Yeah, so we saw a lot of back and forth with disrespect on both sides. I think Feven had some really nice plays forward. Then Kindred kind of walked into the enemy team a bit too much, but it all ended with the last big fight. I think that's the last we played.
It is.
So we can see how it all ended one more time. And was that fight in the jungle?
It's a really good position by Perex. Like they think they catch him, but they don't have Lissandra yet. I don't know if Lissandra should have recalled and then TP, because we see Lissandra recalling, by the way.
Yeah, amazing. You felt really strongly about this Kindred ultimate?
Yes, and Kindred could sacrifice her life for Rise, basically.
Yeah, basically, it shouldn't just happen. Like, you shouldn't be greedy in any kind of sense, and just sometimes you just have to sacrifice yourself for someone else, you know, like in order to advance a team fight. But I suppose that Spirit's life was a bit more important there, so he did that. But I don't know. Overall, the comps just felt so weird to see, because I think from pick a ban on, Fnatic had quite the upper hand, and the only way they could lose is basically by doing the plays that they did, where they overextend and basically walk into the enemy priority and give the enemies plays to make, because Thresh cannot just like flash hook and make an engage happen. It has to be walking in and then hooking someone out of blind or something like that. So I don't know, like it felt like Fnatic didn't really understand how they had to play the comp and how they had to play the game per se in order to give G2 no openings, and they gave them openings.
It reminded me of game 1 actually from the side of Fnatic. Did you want to say something? Or
No,
I'm just taking your page. Okay.
I think my notes back. This is my page. This is not yours. Anyways, I agree though. I think in pick and bans, it was they had a strong composition overall. Fnatic, stuff like that level 1, not pushing on, kind of irked me. And then I definitely agree. Spirit just walking all the time on the Kindred, using his ulti there on himself. When you like the one powerhouse in G2 is Perks in his game, just take him with you. Like
I think it's really hard for Fnatic players to like bounce back maybe after this game, because you get all the picks you wanted, you have a really strong comp, and you play the lanes kind of properly. You could play better on bot, for example, but you still don't fall behind that much. They will like even creep score. And then when it comes to strong point of your composition, you just play much worse than enemy team, and it's what can you do, right?
Well, Youngbug did say that.
Actually, I think so. Yes.
Youngbug did say that it would be 3-0 or 3-1 for G2, so we got that one.
What is he gonna say on Twitter, guys? We're going in. I'm feeling confident that we will lose 2 and 3 today.
Okay, good point. Final question before we wrap up and go to break before Game 4. Judging from Game 3, if we look at the 3 teams that are left in the playoffs right now for the 4 teams, but going up for the number 1 spot, the tactical macro level side of things is really going down in priority.
We're taking a big dive. It's just
no, I'm not joking. I
definitely I haven't seen like good side lane control. It almost seems like mindless fighting. I think the more we go into like a scrim culture almost, and that's why Origin's gonna win this all.
I mean, your odds are going up.
They were decent macro, and this game was a bit more chaotic.
Yeah.
No, it's probably the opposite. We're bad in scrims and good on stage. So if it actually becomes a scrim game, then I think we have no hope.
No hope.
But if there's no macro game and only messy team fights, then at least we'll have the more interesting games.
Yeah, of course. Fans will enjoy it a lot more.
Exactly. We will enjoy it, and hopefully we get 5 games here. G2 Esports have brought the series to match point and is just 1 win away from the championships over in Rotterdam. We'll see if Fnatic can force a Game 5 when we return.
Hipster League of Legends player, or what's this with your t-shirt?
He wants to show his
arms. Oh, this is what you've been working for.
Of course.
Looking for revenge from last game. Look at that damage he's able to dish out. Grasp for the Undying proc. Flashes, jumps. Trick is going to go pretty low on this one. Feb's been trying to cut him off at the pass, and he takes him out with the Ice Shard. Now, Spirit's going to fall after.
Back to Russell. Alessandra, yes flash, but kill him. Latus on flash. Alessandra.
Nice. Nice.
G2 looking to try to make that 1-6, but in comes Febivin, and he gets the Frozen Tomb off. Self-cast. Look at all that damage coming out there.
Go Poppy. Kindred. I'm moving. We can kill Poppy. I asked you Poppy.
Nice. And G2 Esports make a huge statement. Welcome back, everybody, to the European LCS semifinals, where G2 Esports are just one game away from clinching that final spot in Rotterdam on the big stage. Can they do it?
I mean, that's the question, right? Look at the last game. I'm going to say yes, if it's going to be the same kind of game, because it fit into G2's style. A lot of focus on fighting early on. Perks get some early kills. Funny thing now with the pick and ban phase, we feel like we have to get a Ryze ban here. Remove the Lulu ban, plug in a Ryze instead, keep banning bot and Braum, and then just add Ryze as your last one. Try and get that Lissandra one more time. And so far we're correct. Yay, we got the bar.
But, you know, we did not get the Lulu. We're not getting the bingo on this one.
Are we going to get a Braum? But you can't really first pick anything else. That's the problem for Fnatic, because this Kindred still has a lot of value for you. Maybe after the last game.
Trundle ban.
Yes,
Okay.
Some adaptations here.
So now we're in a situation where it's like, okay, if we get the Thresh taken away, I don't think first picking Thresh is a particularly... I mean, when there's jungle picks available, that you give something stronger.
Braum is what we're looking at.
Yeah, but now Braum's banned out.
Oh, now it's banned
too. So now you either like take away the Thresh here, or you give it over to Hybrid. I was skeptical coming into Game 3 about Hybrid's Thresh, obviously with the support priority on so many bans towards. I mean, Hybrid had a really good game. He was hitting hooks left, right, and center last game. But now, how important is it for Fnatic to look at that and go, well, we've got to get Cly on something?
Oh, it's what G2 is doing. It's like, okay, either you're going to get your Kindred one more time, which is the preferred jungler right now, or you have to first pick a support.
Yeah.
If they take this, Hybrid's champion pool has been completely hit.
Yes.
What is he
I mean,
putting
every support's champion pool has been completely hit now.
But like, this is the thing: is how much you're valuing that support first pick. They clearly enough to take that away.
But now G2 have the opportunity to look at what is going to be effective of the next tier. They can look at, do we need like a Morgana for a Black Shield? Do we need heals coming from somewhere else? Do we need disengage from a Janna? They're not in a rush now to pick it because the Thresh is gone. Everything is practically the C tier of supports that's left for Hybrid.
Ooh, I like this. We're just about to talk about Kick is not showing the Echo just yet. Now he's pulling it out. And it was going to be important because it was banned in the last game, and we have seen that whoever plays the Echo in the playoffs will have massive impact. So I think this is a good pick for Kikis, but I wonder if he can play it properly.
I do wonder about that. That is such a key factor because they strayed away from it in Game 2 of the series.
Yes.
And we were like, man, does this actually mean that Kikis cannot play the pick at all? Because that's worrying. We can see Trick has now taken away the jungler when it comes to the Kindred being picked up for G2, so we'll be able to farm himself up on that.
I mean, we're going to get the Ryze again, surely. Because they're once again giving Fnatic this Sivir Lissandra, which, again, so many teams value as one of the best combinations you can have between two champions in this current meta. They're giving it away one more time just to, again, secure a top lane matchup for Kikis, who did show up in the last game for sure.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the best available jungler.
Now, what the analysts talked about was now we're in a situation where Nautilus is the generic kind of pick. Once you've got these four...
Give me Morgana here into Lissandra.
And that's what I was going to say, is normally the Nautilus is the one that they were talking about, but there are so many options now that you can basically pick whatever, and it's still a second tier, but Hybrid can find what he's comfortable on, and it seems like he wants the Janna.
And now you again have a very good 2v2 lane. Push, obviously, from Sivir on one side, but very strong trading on the other side from G2 if they lock in this Lucian, and you run this disengage, changing up to Kalista. Still a strong laning phase coming for them, but you run this disengage now because you're playing against the Lissandra. So obviously that's what you get. That's what you get on the side of G2, and then we're expecting the Ryze to come in as the last pick, so even more protection for this backline, which we know can machine gun its way through almost anything.
But Fnatic have to know this is coming. They pick their last pickups, and it's going to be the Graves jungle. Or possibly top, because we've also got the Gragas, which we have seen top lane.
Gragas top lane, calling it right now. Max W, get full cooldown reduction, then you just start bonking these tanks in the face with your % damage from the W.
You wizard Deficio, there's the Ryze. There it is.
Wow, who would have guessed the
Ryze? There it is. I think you're right, by the way, on the Gragas top lane. It's something we've started seeing more commonly now. It gives you a source of damage, gives you a source of crowd control, fairly tanky on its own right, gives you, that little bit of a supplement when it comes to running something like a Graves jungle where you need extra crowd control.
But it is a little bit of a weird pick because he's not the best at really anything up in the top lane. He's the pick you go for into tanks if you don't have a Trundle available or an Echo available.
Yeah.
And then you kind of say, okay, fine, what's maybe number 3 and number 4?
I'm going to anger some people here, Deficio. I've got a grin on my face as I say this. You know, European Challenger had a lot of Gragas top before other regions were doing it. Sartorius was playing it all the way back in like week 1. I'm not going to take all the credit. It's seen a lot of popularity.
Why would you take
all the way
credit?
around?
Not
Well,
you.
Sartorius can take the
Alright,
credit.
fine.
Wow, okay. Sorry.
I'm not
Trying to steal the spotlight
I'm
here,
just trying to anger people,
Alright,
Deficio. I want people mad at me.
You gotta live by the coach's example, shaking hands as you can see on that stage. Come on, guys.
I'm not touching those hands.
All right, fine. All right. Well, Fnatic are still only 1 win on the board. G2 are on match point here. Can they take the victory and lock it up, secure their final spot in their first split in the European LCS? Let us know if you think so. Hashtag G2 win. Or will the Fnatic faithful be proven correct? And will we go all the way to a 5-game series? We're about to find out as we hit the Rift.
And more changes in the pick and ban phase. Every single
game.
game we've seen some changes, some new bans maybe coming in. Lulu is still being banned by Fnatic, so whatever G2 has been doing in scrims on that champion must have been very, very scary. I would rather see Perks play Lulu than Rise.
Oh yeah,
just saying.
And the funniest thing is if you give Perks that Lulu. By the way, I love what the crowd do now at the beginning of Fnatic and Origin games. We need it coming out of more. I don't think it's quite as effective to go G2. Yeah, we got it.
Gentlemen's agreement.
But the interesting thing with Perks specifically in the Lulu and the Rise matchup was he actually got solo killed as Lulu from Betsy's Rise all the way back in week 1. So, I mean, Perks has shown in situations his Lulu just isn't quite as effective. It's actually statistically, when you look at his performance in lane, his weakest champion.
They keep on banning it away, and now Perks has had a serious game on Rise after one that didn't quite get so far. Game number 3 for him on it. As we look to settle in, maybe not for standard lanes, with the AD carry and support duo Fnatic backing.
So they're heading top side here. Not because they couldn't take the 2v2 lane, bot lane, and just play the pushing game, basically. Gamsu on this Gragas here. You do have a decent early start to the laning phase. But again, it's much like the other tanks. You want your Iceborne Gauntlet, you want your Sunfire, you want a Spirit Visage, because you're into double AP on the side. Or actually both sides, technically. More important for Fnatic, with Rise and Echo being there.
Another thing that the Gragas, especially once you have a little bit of damage, is pretty good for is the ability to defend against dives, that kind of thing. Always, not only is his ult good, you've got to go through the cast as well, the body slam to get himself away. So he has a few more tools than a lot of the tanks do, very much like Echo does.
Speaking of Echo, a little interesting up on the top side. Reckless in a 1v1 versus Kikis. Had to pop his heal already.
So Kikis actually went straight to the lane and just sat in the bush and waited at first. And then as soon as he saw Cly invade alone on Trick, he's like, oh, it's a 1v1 up top now. So he gets a trade, gets the heal. Heal won't really be that important because it's a lane swap anyway. But more importantly, he gets a lot of experience just sitting in the bush waiting for him. So just clicking on him. He's almost level 2 just from sitting there, soaking up some experience. Gamsu's now coming up. Obviously, hasn't been getting as much from doing the double jump.
And there's something I want to talk about with the Keystone Masteries there. You saw the Thunderlords on Thresh. This is something Kasing did from Vitality last week in their series against Fnatic. One of the reasons that you do this is if you're looking to early gank that mid lane. This is specifically what Vitality did and tried to put the pressure down onto Febiven. You have that extra damage for that gank potential. Cly isn't running Ignite, so it's not quite as potent as you would expect, and didn't go immediately to that middle lane either. He was in the jungle trading with Trick, but you've always got to watch for that now. The early game damage that's going to come from that from Cly is actually fairly significant.
But Fnatic is very far behind on this early push, because obviously again they got a bit delayed on top side.
Итак, мы видим на миду, в принципе, то же самое противостояние. Лиссандра против Райза. И в этот раз Клей будет играть на более командообразующем саппорте, скажем так. На саппорте, который умеет создавать ситуации. И это довольно интересно. То есть это тоже своего рода доверие, играть на саппорте плеймейкере. Посмотрим, как это получится. И довольно неожиданный такой пик. И смотрим. Вполне себе полностью оправдал возложенное доверие и очень хорошее перемещение. Ну, нет, тут ничего не... А, нет, все-таки отфлешился Фабиван, и взяли они еще один килл. 3 флеша и 2 убийства, в том числе ФБ. Ну, больше изменения, конечно, касаются того, чтобы не дать Райзу напасть флешом. То есть на этот случай как раз таки у нас появляется наш дрочливый друг Грагас. И ждал. Ну, как классно вообще. Все было высчитано. Немного не успел здесь трэш, но этого казалось вполне себе достаточно. То есть высокий ранний урон вполне себе Фнатики использовали, который есть у Грейвса. Так вот, то есть есть теперь возможность у Фнатиков отправить Райза куда-нибудь подальше и с большей долей вероятности. Но опять-таки 2 гиперкерри у G2. Ну, с другой стороны, если разделить, и минус флеш решил он не рисковать. А, ну да, подсказывает, что вполне вероятно, что у него не хватило маны на то, чтобы перескочить стенку. Ну и, то есть, сделали выводы Фнатики из прошлой игры. То есть, почему-то мне кажется, что все-таки будет 5-я игра, потому что у них, в принципе, все было неплохо. То есть, хороший сетап, но вот этот флеш-клетка у Райза, это, конечно, что-то страшное. Ну и плюс очень много перемещений было у G2, и не успевали Фнатики отвечать на них. Поэтому в этот раз они начинают прямо с самого начала нападать. Создавать ситуации и реализовывать их. Пока у них это удается, но что, 7 минут только прошло. И не дают просто Райза, начинают сразу же гнобить. Выживет, нет. Все-таки убили. И Кикис опять оказывается под угрозой. Тем более у него нету 6-го левела, но есть 6-й у Киндред. Но тут же подходит вражеский ботлейн. Посмотрим, что из этого сделают. Фабиван умирает, но Реклс, в принципе, с фулл хп. Жаль, у него нет маны. Это может оказаться вот довольно заметной проблемой. Да, все-таки он выживает. Вышку, естественно, задефают. И сразу же гнобят по черному Райза. То есть, смотрите, 4 человека пришло.
Very early on in the game. Normally you would just have seen a play where you go mid, you push it into tower, get the damage you can, and then you move out to side lanes. You don't go for the dive. And we see G2 in the end punish
Вот
them.
здесь вот Гамсу, конечно, помогли.
The reason Gamsu is so underleveled was because after he took the bot lane tower,
Был бы он 6-го левела, ну, разница в 2 левела.
but then his team was already playing on
То
top
есть
side, so he couldn't do
в этом
anything. He's like,
тимфайте
"Oh, I know
Кикис
you're
был
not
пополезнее.
into Kikis."
Была бы ульта у Гамсу, все прошлось бы намного лучше. То есть можно было откинуть куда надо. Но пока он, к сожалению, отстает. Ну вот он сейчас получил 6-й левел. Но в тот момент это было довольно решающим фактором. То есть загнобить Райза-то, конечно, получилось. И даже ассистов он не получил. Но с другой стороны, килл для Kindred и ассист для Калисты. Ну, с другой стороны, да, в принципе, не так все плохо. Север продолжает у нас доминировать по крипам над Калистой, то, что неудивительно, но опять-таки такой гигантской разницы нету. Очень хорошо они зачистили. И вслепую попадает, и сейчас... Да, все-таки спасает Калиста своего саппорта. Ну, потому что уже чувствовалось, как нащупывает Грейвс кнопку ульты. И сейчас будет ульта от Реклза. Но нет, все-таки отходит. Спирит. И вот она. Вот она, команда образующая способность трэша. То есть сейчас Клей, в принципе, очень неплохо играет.
And a Janna support, something we don't see that often here in Europe, so...
Many support bands, right?
Yeah, certainly is a very different flavor, but Trick on himself...
Ну, опять-таки, Жанна очень полезна для дизенгейджа. То есть, чтобы не дать возможность команде соперников влететь, тем более благодаря Севир они могут бежать очень и очень быстро. То есть Жанна может откинуть, потому что вряд ли кто-то будет особо Жанну фокусить, когда в команде соперников целых 3 керри. Но и игнорировать ее вроде как нельзя, потому что если вы ее проигнорируете, она просто всех ультой откинет, своих подхилит, ну и как бы все. Все на этом закончилось. Плюс есть возможность, конечно, очень страшно закинуть Жанну за спину соперникам, чтобы она ультой откинула к своим. Но опять-таки можно же. То есть изолировать фронтлайн для того, чтобы его убить. Так. И в очередной раз просто смотрим, что получится. Где-то там должен быть еще один телепорт, потому что, ну, слишком Клей и Фабивана отдают на съедение просто соперникам. Но это косяк Гамсу. Потому что успел прийти Кикис, поучаствовать в убийствах. И в очередной раз вроде бы Фнатики начинают движение, но в плюсе-то в итоге остаются G2. То есть для них сейчас 2 килла и дракон. Видимо,
but then TP comes in from Kikis, and where's Gamsu coming? Oh, he has a ward down here. So he joins in very late for the fight itself. And run away from.
ну как-то неправильно здесь сыграл Фабиван, то есть необходимо было дорожкой спасаться все-таки, а он решил попугать соперников, что он влетит.
In comes the parallel convergence after the flash Janna Q, the most aggressive of plays.
You don't have to make big plays on Janna.
at least Hybrid had the sense to take exhaust. So,
Sure.
Но пока все-таки Фнатики ведут по голде. Совсем немного, благодаря вышке в плюс. И в очередной раз ловят Перкса, посмотрим. И килл уходит у нас Гамсу. Гнобят постоянно Райза. Правда, такое ощущение, что G2 уже смирились с этим и зачастую и промазал Рэкл с бумерангом, не туда он попал. Для Гамсу сейчас возможность как можно дольше протянуть, но тут идет Райз, и случится то, что хотели бы Фнатики, конечно, избежать. То есть кормить, чтобы не кормить Райза. Но второй килл Райзу все-таки уходит. Но маловато еще урона все-таки у Фнатиков для того, чтобы просто уничтожить пойманного соперника вот так вот неожиданно. То есть всегда кучу времени тратят на Райза.
But Perks say, yeah, again, the damage is not exactly the same. Also, Gragas is very tanky.
I mean, there's actually a very deceptive setup here when the Kindred ult is down, because not only have you got Hurricane on Kindred, you've got the Kalista talking about this. Kikis puts parallel convergence on top of it, and the Ryze just stands there, and suddenly you get a multi-person stun, and you have a Ryze in a enclosed space. That's like the perfect team fight for G2.
Ампера тоже, кстати.
Kindred drops low ult, or somebody drops low, Kindred ult comes out and they just annihilate everybody on the spot. Fnatic have to be aware of that and just fall back out of the Kindred ult, or at least out of the damage range before that starts to happen.
Well said and done. Fnatic are still pretty even in the gold department, and they're even up a tower right now. But they have got to be careful. They can't take too many more of those. Now Trick moving into the Fnatic side jungle, gets spawned on that ward, and might give away the game, but they're looking to try and squeeze out this mid lane turret. The 3 members of Fnatic here.
And now Perks can play aggressive because you see mid lane being pushed into tower, you see bottom lane as well being pushed past the river. So there is pressure in the other lanes. That was the problem before. When you are split pushing, professional game, solo queue, doesn't really matter. You cannot just push past the river if your entire team is sitting behind the river. They're like doing their own jungle, they're back in base. You have to respect that you will get ganked and you will die and your team cannot get anything. You can't like go get Rift Hell because again they're sitting too far back on the map. But now when you have your entire set up when all 3 lanes are pushing, you're almost holding hands across 3 lanes, very long hands are on you. You can then start pushing down, and you know if they're going to gank one side with multiple members, you can get something on the other side, or move fast enough to defend and react.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Holding
basically
hands.
it.
Can we hold
So
hands?
for all you Trundamere players at home,
Are you sure you're comfortable with that much?
Of course. Okay. Oh, to be sure, I'll hold your hand any day when we're pushing up on the Summoner's Rift player. Don't worry about it.
I kicked you off our team.
I know. It's fine.
You're still salty, I can hear it.
I'm not even salty.
Hey, save the salt for after the game. Come on, guys. 45 seconds.
I didn't kick you, you left on your own.
You got a history.
30 секунд до Нашора и 40 секунд у нас до дракона. Второго дракона уже отдавать особо не с руки. Для фнатиков, если только разменивать на Нашора.
Let's go back to Kikis trying to push on this bottom side because we've got Febvin trying to 1v1 with Perks. Just to
Ну и довольно грамотно запушивают лайны к этому времени G2. То есть у них спокойно есть сейчас время отойти на дракона, а фнатикам необходимо отпушивать. Сейчас волны крипов, и в более выгодном положении оказывается G2. То есть если только использовать телепорты, посмотрим, будут нет. Да, нет. Фнатики решили в очередной раз попытаться погоняться за Райзом, и Райз благополучно ушел на базу. Как раз вернулся к тому времени, когда подошли крипы. Ну а Калиста, уже не напрягаясь, забирает дракона.
Well, the problem for Fnatic is the 1v1 on top side, which is the lane that's obviously going to decide who gets the jungle control, where the blue buff is for Fnatic, is being lost by Lissandra. That's very natural in this matchup that Lissandra won't be able to like kill the Ryze 1v1 or blow him 1v1. Lissandra is now much more about flanking into a team fight and creating a big pick. So you will have control there if you are G2 to push on top side. Mid lane is very even, just honestly meet the wave instantly as 80 carries, and that means that deep vision should come from G2, near that blue buff, near that baron, give them control. But it requires them to keep pushing. Yeah. And then now they stopped, they went back to base to reset, allowing Fnatic to push
И
up.
Кикис хорошо так влетает, приходится использовать ульту, и поймали его. Тут же активируется ульта Kindred, и но тут Перкс с фулл хп, страшный Райс, и приходится... Нет, выживает все-таки Кикис, и это плохо, потому что сейчас есть возможность у G2 для того, чтобы наносить урон, и ну и собственно все. Для фнатиков в данной игре, на мой взгляд, все решено. Потому что Kindred просто решает. Кучу всего потратили на то, чтобы убить Кикиса, но так это и не получилось. Тут же еще ульта от Жанны, которая подхилила по ходу. Плюс это был тимфайт 4 в 5, и не смогли ничего сделать фнатики в этой ситуации.
No, I don't see it either. I mean, so many of the ultimates we used for that team fighting. You mentioned the Echo ult, the Kindred ultimate as well was used right after the Echo ult. So G2 in theory shouldn't have had their tools to be able to fight that, but they've done enough against Fnatic. Fnatic couldn't get the right re-engage there as they were kiting up the river. And ultimately, as you said, I honestly think that now is this turning point, that without a massive mistake from G2, they should be able to systematically close this game.
Might just happen. Kikis takes a little bit more than he gives on to Febvin, but G2 Esports overall, they are on the edge here. Damsu throws out the cast, but they're
Смотрим, уйдет ли он.
G2
Нет, не ушел. И Трик умрет. Не успел он в этот раз ультануть. И сейчас идет Фабивен. Сейчас он угрожает, угрожает. Смотрим. Тут же идет Эко. Нет, не в этот раз. Смотрим. И умрет, умрет Перекс. Все-таки Фабивен зарешал. Но Эко... потому что Эко решил не телепортироваться, а остановиться. И здесь размен будет двоих на вышку. И есть все шансы на то, чтобы взять Нашора. Но вряд ли все-таки. И попался Эмперор, он будет умирать. Трэш в очередной раз просто попадает свой очень необходимый хук. И это приносит свои плоды. То есть 2000 разница по голде сейчас осталось. Но дракона все-таки Нашора отдефали.
G2 got the kill on Gamsu, looked fine. Kindred ulted, they're not getting popped, obviously what we talked about. Those kind of mistakes you don't see very often.
Ну, вообще, вот чем отличается тот же Origin от Fnatic'ов, то есть они играют более понятно. У них есть Звен, которого необходимо керрить, и которого сохранить необходимо во что бы то ни стало. У Fnatic'ов же сейчас нету такого, что дефаем Реклза как можно дольше и лучше, и ульта. И Спирит.
That's one way to use a Janna to engage a fight. Throw her in, get the Kalista, throw her in there. And that's a kill. That's gonna be Baron started too.
Посмотрим, смогут, нет. В принципе, они все с full хп. Я от G2. Поэтому забрать у них вряд ли получится. Кикиса подкинули поближе, но сейчас Фабивен его остановит. Но только они поймали G2 на нескольких ошибках, провели несколько хороших тимфайтов и тут же отдаются сами. Ну, 2 крита подряд хорошо у Севир легли.
What happened here? It is Fnatic sitting on the dragon.
Spirit wasn't in the pit. Was Spirit on... Yeah, no, Spirit was in his jungle, so he actually just used the smite on Raptors and got baited. Baited back there.
Even bigger for him, so movement speed boost, and they're going to use it to knock down another turret. 3.3k on that Baron buff, Baron power play, I should say. G2 now starting to look down bottom side. We've seen this pressure game before. G2 Esport, are they on the cusp of qualifying?
Ну, на 30-й минуте разница 5000, она довольно чувствительна. Тем более, с учетом того, что у кого эти деньги находятся. Хорошо, конечно, зацепили Трика, но из этого ничего не пойдет. И точит. Вот Трэш очень хорошо сейчас сделал. Зацепил большую телегу. Но это... В этот раз это все-таки первая вышка. И первый ингибитор на одном лайне. Поэтому в прошлый раз У них 2 лайна было пропущено, в этот раз пока 1, поэтому жить пока можно. И какие-то шансы на камбэк еще остаются, но довольно призрачные. Тут все больше упирается в то, что совершат ли G2 ошибку, которую они показали, что в принципе могут совершать. И это печально. Совершать такие ошибки, когда вы так отстаете. Ну, просто необходимо было эко задержать как можно дольше. А вот теперь ситуация начинает повторяться. 2 лайна, сейчас 3-й лайн. Если они снесут 3-й лайн, все, возможностей для камбэка уже у Фнатиков не будет. И это конец игры. Не попал, не попал. И Трика в этот раз все-таки заберут, но все керри здесь. Смотрим. Фабивана все-таки забрали. Куча хила от Жанны. И, собственно, все. Как говорится, они пытались.
It's a challenger team coming into the LCS playing their first playoffs. They didn't even look nervous at all. This team here has just been performing so well.
Turns out seeding matters after all. Kikis trying to put the final nail in the coffin. 31 and a half minutes in. Cly and Reckless, all that remains. Spirit right in there as well. The Nexus turrets are starting to fall. Is this where the script is torn to pieces? It sure looks like it. We're gonna hit 32 minutes before all said and done.
И с флешом влетает Кикис для того, чтобы заставить и в этот раз быстрее. Все-таки, к сожалению, не увидим мы нынче Фнатики против Origin. Ну, как, не знаю, Реклс вообще испортился. Абсолютно никакой игры в исполнении Реклза.
They are now in the third place game, but honestly, you've got to look at what G2 have accomplished this split. Their first split in the LCS. MVP of the split. Rookie of the split. Coach of the split. Now they're in the finals. They are one best of 5 away against a tough team in Origin from putting their names on the wall on the entrance here to the LCS studios in Berlin as being the winners of a split as well.
You're gonna have 2 teams in the final playing somewhat the same style. A lot of
Ну и ждем. Так, сейчас посмотрю, когда следующее, когда все-таки финал будет.
Fnatic standing and talking about it, obviously still going to Rotterdam playing for the third place and the championship points against H2K.
Absolutely, the old card have been thrown down in their places.
Так, финал будет 16 апреля. А, нет, 16 числа это будет матч за 3-е место, и 17 числа будет финал.
that G2 would be in this
Но
fight.
на финал я, наверное,
When you said, "Tell me who's the final
успеваю. Не факт, что на первую игру,
anybody would say, "Oh, G2, yeah,
но
G2 's
вторую-то я точно успеваю, поэтому приходите на канал, посмотрим. Всем спасибо за внимание. С вами был Айван Мастер. Пока.